I'm going to go ahead and get all of these things going again, and let's see what all happens. Mixcloud. Okay. Hi there, folks. Let's see what happens here. Hi there, folks. I am getting a live stream going right here. Having a lot of fun today with these live streams. They've been kind of all over the place. I'm back on TikTok. Awesome. That didn't take long. Okay, well, hi, La Unica. Hi, everybody. Okay, let me go ahead and it would appear as though I'm a little bit clearer as well. Is that close, Alvina? Let me send somebody here let's see. I'm live again. Okay, let's see here. I love this. Justin, what's up, brother? Okay, so Justin, I don't think. Oh, there I can see you. Awesome. I can see Justin's comment. It's right there. Okay, hi guys. Welcome to my live stream. My name is Jim, and I used to be a type 2 diabetic. And I say that I used to be a type 2 diabetic very, very intentionally. I have reversed type 2 diabetes. And I understand, guys, I think it's a little bit blurry. I've got connection issues. We're just going to power right through those. I apologize for the blurry screen. It's a little bit out of my hands right now, but let's just dive right into this. My name is Jim, and I used to be a type 2 diabetic. And when I say type 2 diabetic, I was a type 2. I was a 12.2% A1C. I have completely reversed that. I am now a 5.1%. I am completely unmedicated. And I've been spreading this message for the better part of the last 14 or 15 months. And in doing so, I've had more than 50 people at minimum. I don't even know. It's hard to tally them up, but more than 50 people have reversed their type 2 diabetes as well. So with that being said, oh, Alvina is La Unica. Okay, how are you? Hey, buddy. I'm doing a live stream right now. Meet my son. Hello. Hello. My son just came in. I've been fortunate enough to have helped a number of people reverse their type 2 diabetes as well. And so that's wonderful. It's been a blast, and seeing so many people get healthy. And really, it's quite simple. It's a very simple process, to be honest. So what I'm going to do during this live stream is tell you exactly what I do to achieve that. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, then stick around for this live stream, and I talk about this. More than that, if it's something that somebody you know or care about may benefit from, then share this live stream with them on whatever platform you're on. Currently, we are on a lot of different platforms. We are streaming on, I believe, 9 different platforms. Let's see if I can get on to a 10th. 9. Let's see if we can get the 10th. The 10th one's not going. No, close. We're on 9 platforms right now. Okay, so I just talked to my doctor this morning after taking, just talked to my doctor this morning after taking a blood test 2 days ago. My A1C is 11.8 and my fasting glucose is over 300. Justin, brother, we need to talk. Stick around for this, okay, buddy? Justin, I've actually known for quite a while, like 15, 20 years. We need to talk. Okay, so what is it that I did to achieve that type 2 diabetes remission? What did I do to reverse my type 2 diabetes? Well, the first thing that I did was I started focusing on the root cause. The root cause is something called insulin resistance, okay? Let me get to here. I want this. Let's go share. And actually what I want is this. So this tab instead. I'm bringing up a page here. Okay, this image right here. This image right here depicts insulin resistance as the root cause for type 2 diabetes. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but what that's really doing is saying type 2 diabetes caused by it. It's also saying heart disease, stroke, erectile dysfunction, dementia, oftentimes dementia and Alzheimer's disease, oftentimes referred to as type 3 diabetes. So what is insulin resistance? If you address insulin resistance, you will address your type 2 diabetes. Okay, so let's talk about the underlying root cause of type 2 diabetes, which is insulin resistance. This entire conversation will be about that, okay? And let's see, La Unica, I'm curious, did you get a notification that I was going live? Okay, and it actually, does it look like I'm pretty clear, La Unica, on TikTok? I feel like it looks like I'm pretty clear. Not blurry anymore? Is La Unica still watching me on TikTok, guys? Yes. Randy, does it look like I'm pretty clear? Okay. So, Dottie, welcome to my live stream. Everybody that's joining in, welcome to my live stream. Let's share this thing out. I think I'm being penalized by TikTok a little bit right now. Okay, so what is the... I'm clear. That's wonderful. That is awesome. Okay. Awesome. Who is new to my live stream? I see that I've got, I think, 5 people on here. I'm curious. Let me see. Let's see. New. Dottie is new. Okay, Dottie. Who is familiar with the field rate system? Who's heard of the field rate system? I'm going to dive right into this right away. Dottie, have you heard of the field rate system? What I have, I think, a reputation of is talking about the proof behind it, why it works. No, sir. Okay, Dottie. Well, wonderful. David Sabala, how are you? Let's see. When I said that must have run some people off. Okay. Let me do another round of introductions for the people that are just now joining my live stream. Welcome to my live stream. My name is Jim, and I used to be a type 2 diabetes. I'm in with you. Did you leave? Are you new, David? Are you new? Let's see. We are live. Let's do this. I can see the comments here, but I see that we've got people on Facebook as well as Twitch watching this live stream. Okay. So you have no idea who I am, and I love that. Let's just go with this. Okay, folks, my name is Jim, and welcome to my live stream. I used to be a type 2 diabetic, and I know that I kind of seem like I'm talking in circles. I'm very distracted right now. I'll get myself together. Trust me. My name is Jim, and I used to be a type 2 diabetic, and I say that I used to be very, very, very intentionally. I used to be a type 2 diabetic. I don't have it anymore. I have reversed my type 2 diabetes. I'm in remission from my type 2 diabetes. I don't take medication for my type 2 diabetes anymore. By the way, I used to take 2,000 milligrams per day of metformin. That is a maximum dose. I used to take a 4.5 milligram pen weekly of Trulicity. That again is a maximum dose. Trulicity is something called a glucagon-like peptide 1 receptor agonist. It's kind of in the same family as Ozempic and Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, Saxenda. There's an oral pill now called Rybelsus. I was on Trulicity. It's kind of one of those. I was on a max dose of that. I was also on a max dose of rosuvastatin calcium. That is a cholesterol-lowering medication, a statin. It was the generic for Crestor, which is the #2 prescribed statin medication in the United States, at least, behind Lipitor or atorvastatin calcium. Simvastatin is another very popular one. Those are high potency statins, and I was on a max dose there as well. I was also on 50 milligrams per day of losartan for high blood pressure. I am on none of the above anymore, and I'm living the healthiest life of mine I've ever been, and I'm doing it all naturally. And I didn't just take myself off those medications. I was told by my doctor that I could. So with that being said, let's talk about how that happened. If that is something that sounds interesting to you, then stick around for this live stream, and I'm going to tell you everything that I do to achieve that. Okay. So with that being said, what did I do? And I see, let's see, Exquisite by Medusa Store says hello. Right back at you. Hello. We are live on multiple platforms here. I've got the ability to share your question. If you're watching me from Facebook and you should ask a question, I've got the ability to share your question on screen, and people on TikTok can see it, and vice versa. So if you have questions, please, I have generally a very engaging audience. I love responding to questions. I engage with my audience quite frequently. So what did I do to achieve that type 2 diabetes remission or reversal? And by the way, Dr. Jason Fung is a nephrologist out of Toronto, Canada. He studies kidneys, and he says that type 2 diabetes is a completely reversible disease, that it is not chronic and it is not progressive. And understanding the mechanism behind it really makes it easy then to beat it. I've been told by Lindsay Venn, who is a certified diabetes educator. She's also a dietitian and a physician's assistant. She is in close contact with Dr. Benjamin Bickman, who is one of the world's leading metabolic scientists. She has told me personally that type 2 diabetes is always reversible. And just hear that out loud. It is always reversible. Now, some people might have to work a little bit harder than others, but go into this with that sort of mindset that it is always reversible. Okay, so with that in mind, what did I do to reverse mine? I started focusing on the root cause of type 2 diabetes, which is insulin resistance. Now, what is insulin resistance? I like to start with what is insulin. When you consume a carbohydrate, something like a piece of bread, your body converts that carbohydrate to glucose, and that glucose goes out to your bloodstream, and that is what your cells use for energy. Now, the glucose does not just go into the cell. It's not quite that easy. It needs to be unlocked. The cell is locked, and it needs to be unlocked. It needs a key, and insert insulin. That's what insulin does. Quick question. As everybody's listening to me right now, I'm going to ask a poll question. What do you think is the most active hormone in your body? What is the most active hormone in your body? Answer that for me. Type in the comment section what you believe the most active hormone in your body is. I'm curious what the answer is. So anyway, your pancreas secretes a hormone called insulin, and one of the jobs of that hormone is to act as a gatekeeper or a key, and Dottie gets it right away. Insulin. Lori, how are you, Lori? Lori says insulin as well, right? So insulin is the most active hormone in your body. It literally touches every cell that you have. It is a busy, busy, busy hormone. Now, what happens when the cell stops responding to the insulin? That is insulin resistance. So the cell no longer becomes unlocked by the insulin. And so what happens next is the glucose doesn't go where it's supposed to go. And what tells the pancreas to secrete insulin? blood sugar, glucose. And so the pancreas starts secreting more and more and more insulin, and eventually there is enough insulin in the bloodstream that it's able to unlock the cells and get the job done. Now, when there's excessive sugar, when there's excessive glucose, insulin will also take that excessive glucose and store it for later use. Guess where it stores it? In fat cells. So insulin is going to place the glucose somewhere, right? So as we go through this, and as the cells become more and more and more resistant, it starts taking more and more and more insulin to get them to unlock. And so while we are becoming progressively higher and higher elevated glucose levels, or hyperglycemia, or elevated blood sugar, whatever you want to call it, hyperglycemia would be the technical term, right? We are also getting more and more and more insulin in our bloodstream. And that's called hyperinsulinemia. And when you are in a hyperinsulinemic state, that is what's causing the cells ultimately to stop responding. They're becoming resistant to the insulin because we are swimming in insulin. We are bathing the cells in insulin. They are completely overwhelmed by it. So if you want to reverse the insulin resistance, well, stop being hyperinsulinemic, stop being elevated insulin. And how do we do that? How do you lower the insulin? That is the nature of this live stream. Lori says, I'm learning from the best. Love it, Lori. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Jay, just curious, what are your credentials? As far as what? I know how to read. Am I a doctor? If that's what you're getting at, no, I'm not a doctor. But I love to read. And to that point, actually, Jay, as I go through this live stream, one of the things that I do is I always direct people to where I get my information. In fact, I feel somewhat compelled to do that right now. Jay says, I am giving medical advice. At no point have I actually given any medical advice whatsoever during this live stream, Jay, but I love that you are calling me out, and now I'm going to do this. This here is from the Centers for Disease Control. This page up top, right above me, is from the Centers for Disease Control, and they're talking about insulin resistance and diabetes. So if I may read from the Centers for Disease Control, I believe that's why they put it there, Jay. Just for your own benefit here, since you said that I'm giving medical advice by describing what insulin resistance is. So rather than you listening to some Yahoo on TikTok, let's read it directly from the Centers for Disease Control. Insulin, blood sugar, and type 2 diabetes. Insulin is a key player in developing type 2 diabetes. It's a key player in developing type 2 diabetes. This vital hormone, you can't survive without it, regulates blood sugar or glucose in the body. A very complicated process, and here are the highlights. The food you eat is broken down into sugar. Blood sugar enters your bloodstream, which signals the pancreas to release insulin. By the way, if at any point I've said something that doesn't align with this, please correct me. Insulin helps blood sugar enter the body's cells so it can be used for energy. Insulin also signals the liver to store blood sugar for later use. Blood sugar enters the cells and levels in the bloodstream decrease, signaling insulin to decrease too. Lower insulin levels alert the liver to release stored blood sugar, so energy is always available, even if you haven't eaten for a while. Now, type 2 diabetics may experience elevated blood sugar in the morning when they haven't eaten, and they're wondering, how does that happen? I haven't had anything. How's that? Well, that's exactly why. It's called the dawn phenomenon. A lot of research on the dawn phenomenon. But if you are a type 2 diabetic and you're seeing elevated blood sugar in the morning, look into the dawn phenomenon. But it's basically what that last line is saying. Now, the next line says, what's up, Stephanie? How are you? That's when everything works smoothly. But this finely tuned system can quickly get out of whack as follows. A lot of blood sugar enters the bloodstream, okay? I believe I said that. The pancreas pumps out more insulin to get blood sugar into the cells. Hyperinsulinemia. Over time, cells stop responding to all that insulin. They become insulin resistant. Now, the way that I worded that was by saying that our cells are basically bathing in insulin, right? Elevated insulin. They're becoming resistant because of all of that insulin. The pancreas keeps making more insulin to try and make cells respond. Now, I think I said your pancreas starts secreting more and more and more insulin. And eventually the pancreas can't keep up and blood sugar keeps on rising. So Jay says, I did not mean to offend. You are very knowledgeable, Jay. I appreciate that. And I never, ever, ever give medical advice. In fact, I always tell people that they need to consult their medical professional. Always, 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 always. But for those who do want to challenge the information that I'm providing, know that I'm not just making stuff up. And throughout this live stream, I will show you where I get all of the information, more often than not from government websites, because I'm not going to trust Fox News or CNN or something like that, or Oprah Winfrey. I'm going to trust credible sources. So what's happening, Stephanie? How are you? Tracy, my husband is off. Tracy here found me on TikTok. Actually, her husband found me on TikTok. Interestingly enough, I'm going to just talk about this real quick. Tracy, or RRWife08, is a nurse and has been for some time. Her husband found my TikTok live stream and decided to listen to me and started adhering to this. And in like a week, saw his insulin usage. He was a type 2 diabetic who was what they would dub insulin dependent. And within a week, his insulin usage was down. And now he's at about 75 days of doing this exact protocol, and he's completely off of his insulin. In fact, he's off of 5 of his medications in the last 75 days. And Tracy went into this as an extreme skeptic, saying there's no way this could work as a medical professional. And within a week and a half or 2 weeks of watching her husband have amazing results, she started doing the same thing, and now she is having amazing results. So I love that. You said I had yesterday that eats the muscle. Jay, what did you call it that you said I had yesterday that eats the muscle? I think we were talking about sarcopenia. Okay, now, Mingo says, some of us can't stay on this live for a long time. Please tell us what you have to teach and stop. So Mingo, coming from TikTok, Mingo, this insulin resistance, that very thing that I just read from the Centers for Disease Control, that doesn't happen overnight. That literally happens over decades. That doesn't happen in a day, a week, a month, a year. It doesn't even happen in a decade. It happens over the course of multiple decades. Okay, so Mingo, if you are coming into my live stream and expecting me to give you a solution to a decades-old problem in a matter of 3 or 5 minutes, then I think that you've got another problem looking for instant gratification. It's not that easy. I like to be very thorough with the information that I give. I like to go through and cite the science that I'm giving. So if you're looking for an instant solution to a lifelong problem, my live stream probably is not the right one for you. And I'm not offended if you decide you want to move on and try and find a quicker solution. I will tell you that there are a lot of people who have listened to me, who have put up with the excessive noise, as you may think it is, and they've gotten healthier. So Mingo, you do what you'd like to do. I'm not offended if you decide to leave my live stream, and I don't care. But I'm not going to conform to you. There, okay. So here we go. Let's just keep on talking here. So I've talked now, what is insulin? What is insulin resistance? What causes insulin resistance, right? Now I want to look to this image up here. let's talk about what insulin resistance causes. When you are insulin resistant, does it stop at type 2 diabetes, or does it keep growing and growing and growing and other side effects as well? So you sent me a text. We can talk about that later. Definitely, Tracy. I didn't see it. I kind of heard something, but what does insulin resistance cause? And so far, we've been talking about type 2 diabetes. But let's kind of broaden that horizon. I've got a video on TikTok that's going somewhat viral right now. I believe it's somewhere around 250,000-ish views. And it talks about skin tags and darkening or discoloration of the skin around the neck or armpit, inner thigh area. That is a condition called acanthosis nigricans. Acanthosis nigricans, as well as those skin tags. Let me pull up a picture there. This right here, right? So the top image being skin tags, the lower image being acanthosis nigricans, an abnormally distended belly, something like that. These are symptoms of insulin resistance. So what I want to do is encourage some engagement with my audience, okay? So I'm going to ask you guys to engage with me as I name off these symptoms. Would you do me a favor and be so kind as to just type the word me as in me, in the comment section if it applies to you or somebody that you know. And I say to somebody that you know for, it'll make sense here in a moment, but if it applies to you or somebody that you know, do me a favor and type the word me. And I'm going to start at the 12 o'clock, stroke. Does that apply to you or somebody that you know? Stroke. How about heart disease or obesity? And by the way, I'm just going clockwise around that image right there. Obesity or migraine headaches. Hi, Anita. Keep listening, Anita. Keep listening. Okay, so migraine headaches. How about dementia? Now, I said if it applies to you or somebody that you know, dementia would be a great example of somebody that you know. I doubt if there's anybody listening to me who is suffering from dementia. There may be, and I don't mean to be offensive if you are that person, but I doubt it. So if somebody that you know, let's talk about osteoarthritis. Is anybody listening to me suffering from osteoarthritis or childhood obesity, polycystic ovarian syndrome? Is there anybody listening to me that suffers from PCOS? Now, PCOS is also the #1 cause for infertility amongst women in the United States. So maybe you don't know that you have PCOS. Are you infertile? If you're a woman and you are infertile, maybe that applies, right? How about fatty liver disease? Now, cirrhosis of the liver is a top 10 cause of death in the United States. At the top of that is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Absolutely, as you just heard me say from the Centers for Disease Control, we'll start storing glucose and fat around the liver, right? Non-alcoholic fatty liver disease is absolutely caused by insulin resistance. What about arthritis or Alzheimer's disease? Does anybody know anybody that suffers from Alzheimer's disease? It's a pretty quiet comment section here, guys. I've named off a lot of conditions, and I've got quite a few people listening to me on a lot of different platforms to have had only a handful of people say me through all of these conditions. I got to think that this is an engaging live stream, guys. Talk to me. Post your comments. Okay? Let's engage. Maybe you ask a question that somebody else is afraid to ask. Maybe you're helping me illustrate a point here that somebody else is saying, hey, I don't know if this is for real or not, okay? Engage with me. How about erectile dysfunction as men? Is there any men who suffer from erectile dysfunction? Oftentimes a symptom of a condition called autonomic neuropathy. Now, autonomic neuropathy is caused by diabetes, and according to the Centers for Disease Control, 90 to 95% of the diabetes cases are type 2 diabetes, which is caused by insulin resistance. So sarcopenia, Jay was talking about sarcopenia earlier. High blood pressure Boy, it seems like everybody on earth has high blood pressure right now, right? If you have high blood pressure, type me. I'm going here, checking my live stream. I apologize. Let's see. I don't think my Facebook is connecting. Okay. Yes, Robertson says, so we can reverse diabetes by diet and exercise. You're kind of nailing it right on the head there, Susan. Okay, so Dottie says, I have 5 of those symptoms, but I'm not diabetic. Well, Dottie, this is what we need to think about, right? This is what we need to think about. At any point, did I say diabetic in there? No. No. What you have are symptoms. And I love the fact that you used the word symptom. So let's think of type 2 diabetes as a symptom, right? You've been told it was a chronic and progressive disease. What if we start looking at it like it's a symptom of a bigger problem, which is insulin resistance? And what are you doing? You might be treating your migraine headache or your skin tags, or you go to the doctor and have the skin tags taken off, or you take ibuprofen for your headache. Maybe you're a guy and you take that little blue pill for your ED. Maybe you're a woman and you take metformin for your PCOS. Maybe you're type 2 diabetic who takes metformin to help control your glucose, right? What are you doing? You are effectively medicating the symptom. In fact, to that point, how many people, let's just do a quick little poll here. As you look around those symptoms up there, how many of them are you affected by? Do me a favor and type that in the comment section. How many of those are you affected by? And more than that, how many of them are you taking medication for? And if we think of them like a symptom, well, you're treating the symptom, right? That's all that we're doing, is effectively treating the symptom. And how many what's another example of a symptom? Is a runny nose for a cold. How many medications are you going to throw at a runny nose, or are you going to treat the cold? Are we doing anything for the root cause? Helena Bean says, do I have a written plan? No, not really. I talk about this every single day on live streams. I would encourage you to join my live streams every single day. So with that aside, what this live stream is going to be about is addressing the root cause of all of those conditions, which is insulin resistance. Now, if hyperinsulinemia causes insulin resistance, if that's what causes the insulin resistance, well, let's stop being hyperinsulinemic. How do we do that? A lot of this live stream is going to be about doing that. Let's lower or suppress the insulin in our bloodstream. Sherry says it's hard to see the condition. Let's go like this. This isn't going to make it any easier, but let's go like, ooh, how about that? Is that easier? Ooh, I kind of like that, actually. How about that? Okay. Well, that's, no, I don't like that. I like that. Is that better? Okay. So do me a favor, and now that you can see it a little bit more clear, that's what we're going to do. We're going to be talking about that. Tell me how many of those conditions. But I want to throw in a couple other ones, a couple other conditions. How about fibromyalgia or gout or multiple sclerosis? How about diabetic neuropathy? That's pain, tingling, or numbness in the feet, legs, or extremities. How about diabetic retinopathy, a top 3 cause of blindness in the United States? Do you know anybody who's suffered from an amputation? Maybe you dealt with an amputation. Amputations, the number 1 cause of that is diabetes. So in the United States anyway. So this amazing info, so true. 61 years young. I want to put this out. Susan Robertson, listen to all this amazing info. So true. 61 years young, down 50 pounds in 10 months by eating 90% cleaner. Susan, that is incredible. Is this your first time in my live stream, Susan? Are you brand new to me? Sherry says, I have 3. Family includes 5. Dottie, I have 9 of those. Mary has arthritis. Okay. Looks like we got osteoporosis. I believe osteoporosis, Justin. I'm not sure. I believe so. It looks like my Facebook is now connected again. Okay, guys, I want to build on that. So what we're doing, the reason I spend all this time kind of warming up, if you will, is so that we can take the emphasis off of type 2 diabetes. And Dottie, looks like it's reconnected now. Okay. Okay. This is my first time in your live. Well, welcome, Sherry. I hope. So what I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to take the emphasis or de-escalate the emphasis on type 2 diabetes, okay? What I really want to do is talk about the root cause of that type 2 diabetes, which is insulin resistance, okay? So that's what we're talking about, insulin resistance. Let me go ahead and turn this off and let's dive right into this, okay? So insulin resistance is caused by hyperinsulinemia. That's a condition when your cells stop responding to the insulin. Hyperinsulinemia is the problem. So stop being hyperinsulinemic. This live stream, I'm going to talk about how we do that. So with that being said, it's a 3-step protocol. 1, 2, 3. A lot of people like to take notes. That sounds weird for me to say that somebody might actually take notes on something that I say, but it's true. Some people take notes. They like taking notes. So with that aside, maybe you want to grab a pen and paper as we go through this, okay? So step 1 of the protocol is intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting. And I'm not talking about a 5 and 2, which would be 5 days of eating and 2 days of fasting. I'm not talking about that whatsoever. In fact, I'm talking about time-based eating. So out of a 24-hour day, I intermittent fast for 16 hours, and I eat 2 meals within the remaining 8 hours. So for me personally, it looks like 8 p.m. I'm done eating for the day. I don't eat again until noon the following day. And between noon and 8, I allow myself 2 meals. That's it, just 2 meals. I'm not talking about portion size. You've not heard me say that. You'll never hear me talk about counting calories. I don't do that. I eat a big enough meal that is healthy and nutritious enough that I'm not going to need another meal until I get to dinner. And when I have dinner, I do the same thing. I eat a big enough meal that's filling enough that I'm not going to want to snack. Now, if I'm done eating at 8 p.m., I don't really need any other food. If I were to go and eat something, it's probably out of habit or boredom or something like that. It's probably not really true hunger, right? So with that being said, what am I doing when I intermittent fast? Let's talk about the mechanism here, right? So if hyperinsulinemia, elevated insulin, is what's causing the cells to become resistant to the insulin, well, we want to lower the insulin. What causes the insulin? Glucose. Well, what if we just kind of remove the glucose from the equation, right? And how do we do that? What's the easiest way to do that? Stop eating. So if we don't eat, we take a little bit of time off. We do a little bit of a break from eating. We allow those glucose levels to come down. That forces those insulin levels to come down. If we can suppress those insulin levels long enough, they will become resensitized. The cells will become resensitized to the insulin. If we can create enough insulin sensitivity, reverse enough of that insulin resistance, in time, we might see things like your type 2 diabetes either go away or at minimum become more manageable, okay? So That's kind of the quick and dirty on it. But let's talk about a little bit of a deeper dive into it. How many of us feel like, do I recommend the same? Let me ask, Anita asks the question, do you recommend the same if somebody is pre-diabetic? Absolutely, Anita. And I'm going to dive into this here, okay? Blenda Healthy Life says she's a truck driver and it works. Okay, so by the way, Blenda has done exactly what I'm talking about and lost well over 100 pounds. She's reversed type 2 diabetes. She no longer has high cholesterol. She's reversed sleep apnea. Such an amazing turnaround in her life. She says, hey, Jim. Hi, Blenda. Okay, and Blenda found me on TikTok. It's kind of hard. She says, I reversed IBS as well. So many things, all through some random dude on TikTok, right? Okay, so how many of us, I like to start off with this, how many of us have a little bit of an extra belly going on right now? We got a little bit, that spare tire or the love handles, whatever you want to call it. We got a little bit extra jiggly around the waist. And you know, it's the middle of April. It's April 18th. We're getting ready to go out to the beach. We're getting ready to go out to the swim pool, and maybe that swimsuit doesn't look quite as flattering as it did when we were 18, right? And hey, why do we have that fat right there? Why is that? And I always ask this question. I do live streams all the time. I always ask this question. Do you think it's because God or the creator or whatever you believe in, do you think that it's because they're playing some sort of nasty joke on you? Like, you're going to be ugly, poof, you know, or is that fat there for a reason? Let's talk about times of famine. Right? If you are experienced times of famine, which truthfully we are blessed, we really don't deal a whole lot with that, at least here in the United States. There are some areas of the world that do, and it's very unfortunate. But let's talk about here in the United States. Really, we've got modern day food storage. We've got foods that'll last for, I mean, the shelf life of a Twinkie is like what? I think it's a half-life, right? It doesn't go away. So we really don't have to worry about times of famine here. So with that being said, let's talk about the mechanism there, right? So during times of famine, your body needs an alternative fuel source. Fat. That's what the fat is there for. It's an alternative fuel source. So in the event that, you know, let's talk about hunter-gatherer stage, right? They would be walking. They were very nomad, so they were always on the move. So they were always getting exercise. And what were they eating? They were eating nuts, berries, that sort of thing. And they might every 3 or 4 days or week, they might get a protein. But really, they were eating nuts and berries. That's what the body was really built off of, right? And did they sit down to a dinner table and just pig out on nuts and berries? Or would they come across a bush, maybe eat some, and then hike, walk, whatever, run for the next 4 or 6 or 8 hours? They come across another bush and they repeat, right? And then every few days come across a protein. That was their way. Now, what if they came across a time when it might be 2 or 3 days? Well, we need our mind to be active during that time, right? If you're starting to kind of starve, you want to make sure that you've got food. Your mind needs to be able to source the food. You need clarity there. It's not a good time to have your mind go goofy on you. So we've got an alternative fuel source. And in fact, when we use fat for fuel, we create ketones. And there are studies that suggest that the brain actually prefers ketones over glucose. They put brain cells in a petri dish with ketones and glucose, and the brain cells go to the ketones first. Just proves that they want the ketones. That's what they prefer. So, and that makes perfect sense. If you're 2 or 3 or 4 days without food, you need a clear mind, right? And so what are you using? You're using that fat. Now, Dr. Mark Mattson is a neuroscientist out of Johns Hopkins Medical University. Very, very intelligent man. He studied intermittent fasting for more than 25 years, more than a quarter of a century. And what he says is that at about 12 to 14 hours, our bodies metabolically switch their fuel source from glucose to fat, and you start using fat. So if you want to see that extra jiggly go away, if you're thinking, hey, bathing suit season's coming up, I don't like that fat, well, start using the fat for the fuel. Okay, and that happens in about 12 to 14 hours. So I mentioned I intermittent fast for 16 hours. And truthfully, it's like a minimum of 16 hours. Okay. Minimum of 16. If you can go to 18 hours, well, that's just 4 hours of additional fat burning, right? If you can go 24 hours, right, and you can go 24 hours, that's like 10 to 12 hours of additional fat burning. Quick question, poll question. What's up, Edwin? How are you? Twinkies last like radiation. Justin, 260 pounds is getting old. I'd like to see 180 again. Justin, keep listening, brother. What is the record for the longest medically supervised fast? What is the record for the longest medically supervised intermittent fast or fast? I'm asking that question out to you guys. Give me your answer in the comment section. What is the record for the longest medically supervised fast? Oh, Tanya, you already knew the answer. But Tanya gets it. 382 days. 382 days. Think about this. So Helena says, fasting is scary for me. Helena, I get it. Helena, are you type 2 diabetic? Are you type 2 diabetic? Because what are we taught to do as a type 2 diabetic? We're taught, inevitably you saw a dietitian, I did, and they said have a healthy breakfast, 30 to 60 carbs, have a healthy snack up to 15 carbs, have a healthy lunch, 30 to 60 carbs, have a healthy snack again up to 15 carbs, have a healthy dinner, 30 to 60 carbs, right? We've kind of heard this before, right? I want to ask, does that really make sense? You are insulin resistant. That means you have an intolerance of carbohydrates. Your body doesn't know what to do with the carbohydrates. If you max out that meal plan, you will have consumed 210 carbohydrates. You have an intolerance of carbohydrates. Why would you eat 210 of them? Right? Now, Helena says yes. Type 2 diabetics. Type 2 diabetic. I get it, right? Every single type 2 diabetic that I come across is terrified of the idea of fasting as well. So you're not alone. But I want to ask a quick poll question to the audience right now. If you are or were a type 2 diabetic and you were terrified of fasting and then started fasting and realized it wasn't so bad, would you type me? A long question there. If you were or are a type 2 diabetic and you were terrified of fasting and then started fasting and realized that it wasn't so bad, type the word me, okay? And Helena, I just want you to take comfort and solace in the number of people that are inevitably going to type me, okay? A lot of people, wow, right away. Blenda, Lori, KK, CCM1, okay. You'll cross that bridge. It might take you a week to get used to it. It might take you 2 weeks, maybe even a month. It might take you a little while to get there, but once you cross that bridge, you'll look back and say, I feel so much better now. And you just got to kind of trust me on that one, okay? And it worked fantastically. Okay, so who has heard of Joslin Diabetes Center? I will tell mine, Lainey. Who's heard of Joslin Diabetes Center? If you've heard of Joslin Diabetes Center, type I have. I'm going to go like this. This is joslin.org, Joslin Diabetes Center. Joslin Diabetes Center has been improving the lives of diabetes patients since 1893. Joslin Diabetes Center. Now, this is Dr. Elliot Joslin. Now, understanding Dr. Elliot Jocelyn graduated med school in the 1800s. And when Dr. Jocelyn graduated med school, diabetes was actually quite rare. There was no reason for a doctor to specialize in it. However, when he graduated, he learned that both his aunt and his mother were diabetic. And for that reason, he decided to specialize in diabetes. He wanted to help his family. And Dr. Jocelyn was really one of the pioneers in understanding diabetes. And what he thought the keys to diabetes control was strict glucose control, which we absolutely know to be true now, right? There's no arguing that glucose control, strict glucose control, will help you manage your diabetes. And he was talking about that 130 years ago. He also thought the key to it was intermittent fasting, okay? Now, to that point, he would actually go on to write of this condition, the treatment of diabetes mellitus in 1916, so 108 years ago, he would write of the treatment of diabetes, that temporary periods of undernutrition are helpful in the treatment of diabetes, will probably be acknowledged by all after these 2 years of experience with fasting. Now, I'm going to ask you the question here. Did we listen to his advice, or did we ignore him? I want to, a couple of years after Dr. Jocelyn wrote that, we would discover insulin. And in 2022, so just 2 years ago, the global human insulin drug market was estimated to be $45 billion. And that is a B, $45 billion global human insulin drug market. Now, I want to ask the audience here, and unfortunately, I can't see how many people are listening to me on TikTok. It doesn't show me that on my restream here. So maybe somebody, Tanya or Lainey or somebody can just type how many people are listening to us on TikTok so I can see. But I would imagine that there are a number of type 2 diabetics who are listening to me who are what they would dub insulin dependent, right? So we're at 45-ish on TikTok. We've got a number of people on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch as well. Okay. Lainey is on insulin. She's taking insulin. Is there anybody else listening to me that is a type 2 and insulin dependent? Okay, insulin dependent. I want to introduce a gentleman here. This is Dr. Ben Bikman, okay? Dr. Ben Bikman is a professor of cell biology and physiology at BYU. In fact, this is his profile page on byu.edu. Dr. Ben Bikman. Take down his name. This guy is quite brilliant. You'll notice his research interests. The focus of my lab, the Laboratory of Obesity and Metabolism, is twofold. First, we aim to identify the molecular mechanisms that explain the increased risk of disease that accompanies weight gain, with particular emphasis on the etiology of insulin resistance and disrupted mitochondrial function. This guy has dedicated his life to the study of insulin resistance. And furthermore, brown fat versus white fat. But his education, you'll notice he has multiple doctorates, memberships, professional citizenship. Look at how many courses he's taught. He's been teaching about cell biology for quite some time. He is the world's leading metabolic scientist. Okay. You'll notice he's been published more than 30 times on the topic of insulin resistance. Things like metabolic diseases, glucose intolerance, biomarkers of metabolism and glycemic control, insulin-induced impairments. This is what he does. He talks about insulin resistance. If you go to Google and type Dr. Ben Bikman, insulin resistance, you've got about 190,000 results right now. He has a website called insuliniq.com. I really recommend everybody become a member of insuliniq.com. This is his website. You will find this book, Why We Get Sick. You'll see that I'm holding it up right here. This book right here, Insulin IQ, or Why We Get Sick, will change your life. And if you scroll down a little further, you'll see that image that I started my live stream off with. This is where I got that image from. Now, I am spending a lot of time talking about Dr. Bickman because I'm going to play you a video of Dr. Bickman. This is my homepage on TikTok. If you're listening to me on TikTok, just navigate to my homepage and watch all of my videos. You'll find that they are all very commonly themed to reversing insulin resistance. If you are on Facebook or YouTube or one of those, I've got a lot of videos on those channels, but I'm definitely most active with my videos on TikTok. I would encourage you to give me a follow on TikTok. By the way, on all of my social media platforms, I can be found as @TheRealJimBBQ or The Healthy Pitmaster. Okay. Now, if we scroll down through here, we're going to find a video of Dr. Ben Bickman talking about insulin therapy with type 2 diabetics. And if you are a type 2 diabetic and you are on insulin therapy, you are one of the people that is dubbed insulin dependent. I want you to listen to this video very, very importantly. Remember, this is one of the world's leading metabolic scientists talking to you directly, okay? Maybe it's not going to play. Ha! Isn't that cool? Really? It's been nothing but one after the other today. Let me try and open up another page. Let's see. I'm going to scroll down and see if I can get it to open on another one after the other today. This has been the story of my day, all day long. All day long. Let's see here.
View of the disease, essentially the clinician,
Here we go.
regardless, because we have a glucose-centric view of the disease, essentially the clinician is saying, well, to heck with your insulin. Who cares if we push it up even higher? They might not even know where it is. All they know is if they push the insulin up even higher, the glucose will in fact come down. And because that's the target, the glucose, they believe they're achieving the optimal outcome. However, it's much more complicated and sinister than that. The more aggressively we're giving a type 2 diabetic insulin to control their glucose, the faster we kill them. They are 3 times more likely to die from heart disease, and twice as likely to die from cancer, and twice as likely to develop Alzheimer's disease. And throughout all of it, they need more and more and more insulin because they're becoming ever more resistant to it.
Okay. Did that resonate with anybody who is suffering or is currently taking insulin, right? And again, I want to point out that we have a 2022, there was a $45 billion global human insulin drug market. And for reference, they're expecting that to surpass $84 billion by the year 2030. Now, if you look at, if there are, to the people that are listening to me right now, I see Dottie says, my mother is insulin dependent. Dottie, I'm going to ask you and anybody else who is insulin dependent, can we validate what Dr. Ben Bickman just said? Has the insulin usage gone up or gone down since they started the insulin therapy? Has the insulin usage gone up or gone down since they started? And then furthermore, if you were to think about, close your eyes and just think about every diabetic, Marilyn says up. Gone up. Dottie says up. Robin, both of your grandmothers were. Robin, did your grandmothers end up needing more and more and more insulin? And furthermore, if you were to think about everybody that you know that's had a an amputation or something like that, and that was related to diabetes, were they on insulin? Were they on insulin? And did they ultimately start getting other things that were wrong with them, like heart disease and stroke, just kind of running away with things? They are no longer with us. I'm sorry to hear that, Robin. Okay, so the problem is elevated insulin. So Who's heard of Dr. Jason Fung? If you've heard of Dr. Jason Fung, just type I have in the comment section. Dr. Jason Fung. Dr. Jason Fung is a nephrologist. Nate, I'm Ozempic dependent. I have changed my diet. Is this helping? Nate, I'm going through a 3-step process. I'm about through step 1. I'm getting ready to start step 2. And in step 2, I'm going to spend a lot of time talking about glucagon-like peptide 1, which is an incretin hormone that's developed in your gut. And that will tie over to glucagon-like peptide 1 receptor agonists, which is Ozempic, Mounjaro, Zepbound, Wegovy, Rybelsus. Trulicity was what I was on, Saxenda, those sorts of things. So stick around for me. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. Dr. Jason Fung is a nephrologist out of Toronto, Canada. He studies kidneys. And what Dr. Jason Fung found was a relationship between poor kidney health and insulin resistance. He thought that if we could reverse the insulin resistance, that it would have a profound effect on the kidneys. And well, he was right. And what did he do? Dr. Jason Fung went to the work of Dr. Elliot Jocelyn, that dude from 100 years ago. He went to the work of Dr. Elliot Jocelyn. In fact, here's a funny one. I'm going to pull up a screen really quick. I rarely get to show this. If you look at this screen, up in the lower right-hand corner of that image, there's a little red YouTube square. I actually screenshotted that from a lecture that I was listening to from Dr. Jason Fung. Dr. Jason Fung literally went to the work of Dr. Elliot Jocelyn from more than 100 years ago. Intermittent fasting and strict glucose control. That was what Dr. Jason Fung has built an empire on. Now, Dr. Jason Fung is, I think at minimum, a 5-time best-selling author. He's written a lot of books like The Diabetes Code, The Obesity Code, The Cancer Code. He wrote a book right here that I really recommend called The Diabetes Code Cookbook. If you're looking for ideas on how to cook, that's a great book. But I also like to talk about this book right here, Life in the Fasting Lane by Dr. Jason Fung. And what I'll do is I'll flip my camera around. I don't like doing this because it's so awkward, but I'll flip my camera around so you can take a screenshot if you'd like. Take a screenshot of that book, Life in the Fasting Lane. See, everything's backwards. I'll count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, Life in the Fasting Lane by Dr. Jason Fung. Now, in that book, one of the co-authors not only had type 2 diabetes, but she also had PCOS, and she was infertile. Now, Dr. Jason Fung had her start doing intermittent fasting, a very strict intermittent fasting schedule, and paired it with a very strict glucose control program. And what did he do? He put her on a low-carb, high-fat diet, keto. So he paired keto with intermittent fasting. He stripped the carbs out because, of course, the carbs cause the glucose, causes the insulin. And what he was able to do with people through intermittent fasting and a strict glucose control diet, keto diet, was able to not only reverse people's diabetes, but they were also able to reverse things like PCOS. Co-author in here had PCOS and was infertile. She not only reversed her type 2 diabetes, but she also reversed her PCOS. And her husband have now had 2 children, all naturally, no medications. And it's a beautiful thing. Dr. Jason Fung is literally not only restoring life, he's giving people their lives back, but he's also giving them the ability to create life. And he's doing it through diet. Think about that. Just think about the magnitude of the work of Dr. Jason Fung. Now, I also want to point out really quick, I talk a lot about Dr. Jason Fung and a lot about Dr. Ben Bikman. I recommend both of their books. I want to show this image right here. This is Dr. Ben Bikman and Dr. Jason Fung side by side. Those two are friends. They exchange information. If you like Dr. Fung, but you've never heard of Dr. Bikman, well, you'll notice on Why We Get Sick, which is the book that I recommend from Dr. Bickman, it was forwarded by Dr. Jason Fung. If you read Life in the Fasting Lane by Dr. Jason Fung, you'll see that there is a comment on the back written by Dr. Ben Bickman. These two are very familiar with each other's work. They exchange information. They're definitely both doing God's work. Wonderful people. Start there. Educate yourself through books. So I always recommend Dr. Ben Bickman, Why We Get Sick. That is this book right here. Get this thing. It's also available on audio file. So if you prefer listening to a book, you can get it there. And once you've read that, read Life in the Fasting Lane by Dr. Jason Fung. If you are a woman, your hormones are way different than my hormones, and your fasting schedule can be benefited depending on the week of the month, right? And I don't want to get too graphic there, but your fasting schedule, you can actually increase the benefits of fasting if you time it around certain times of the month, if you know what I mean. And there's a book written by Dr. Mindy Pelz called Fast Like a Girl. Read that book, listen to that book. And then once you're done with those, Dr. Jason Fung also has a lot of books out there. Books like The Diabetes Code, The Cancer Code, The Obesity Code. Dr. Ben Bickman now has a cookbook that you can pre-order. Mine is on order. Wonderful people. Guys, step one of the protocol is intermittent fasting. I talk a lot about keto, and actually, in fact, I'll talk a lot about carnivore as well. However, I am not keto. I am not carnivore. Do I practice dirty keto, or do I have keto tendencies or carnivore tendencies? Yes, I absolutely do. But I also enjoy pizza. I do indulge in pizza. I was in Hawaii last week, and it was a nice vacation. My wife and I had desserts just about at every single meal that I would not normally do, but I enjoyed the vacation. I enjoyed the food. So I try to make better choices, but I definitely enjoy things. So for that reason, I'm not keto. I'm not carnivore. So are there any questions about step one of the protocol, which is intermittent fasting? And if there are, go ahead and type your question. Let's see. Dottie says, that's awesome. I had PCOS, never was able to have children. Dottie, I'm so sorry to hear that. Do they have you on metformin probably for PCOS? I've had a number of women have come across my live stream who have addressed their PCOS through this very same protocol and been able to reverse it. Okay, I'm going to move on to step two of the protocol. Let's see, Nate, I want to see what comments I'm missing here. I'm just going to try and catch up on some of the messages here. I don't think I've missed actually many. Belinda says it's a wonderful book. Gator Dave says, thanks. You're welcome, Gator Dave. By the way, thank you to everybody who's listening right now. You had a hysterectomy in 2020. Okay. Okay, so are we ready to move on to step two? If you're ready for step two, then type the word ready in the comment section. And let's see. I don't see. Let's see. Is there anybody that has it? Are we ready for step two? Dottie says ready. Sherry says ready. Okay. D. Carney, step one was intermittent fasting. Okay, for me personally, it's a 16 and 8 time-based eating schedule, a minimum of 16 hours. I don't eat during the day. For me personally, at 8 p.m., I'm done eating for the day. I don't eat again until noon the following day. In fact, it's 12:30 in Colorado right now. I could break my fast right now, but I'm not hungry, so I'm not going to. I'll just extend this fast. I actually started it at about 7 p.m. last night. So technically, right now, I'm at about 17 and a half hours, and you can see I'm operating just fine. But for me personally, it's a minimum of 16 hours. So from 8 p.m. until noon, I have nothing but water-based products. Between noon and 8, I allow myself 2 meals. Okay. Justin, I have issues with control when it comes to food. I'm not huge on sweets, but other things I don't like sacrificing. Justin, brother, keep listening, man. Keep on listening. You're now a follower. Okay, Frank, thank you. That is very kind of you. And by the way, if you are following, if you're not already, give me a follow on all the major social media platforms. I'm on everything. In fact, right now, this live stream is being carried to 9 different locations: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, DLive, Mixcloud, of course, TikTok. I am most active on TikTok, folks. For everybody, if you're not giving me a follow on TikTok, you should be. But if you're on TikTok, give me a follow on the other platforms as well. You can always find me as @TheRealJimBBQ and the Healthy Pitmaster. Okay, let me jump into step 2 of the protocol. Okay, step 2 of the protocol is consuming more chlorogenic acid. And I believe, what was it? Dave? Who was it? Nate. Nate, are you still here? Are you still listening, Nate? Because I'm getting ready to talk a little bit about your Ozempic, okay? Consuming more chlorogenic acid. And I'm going to type that up into the comment section so you can see how it's spelled. Chlorogenic acid. Okay, let's see. Boom. Right there. Chlorogenic acid. Consuming more chlorogenic acid. Now, what is chlorogenic acid? Chlorogenic acid is a naturally occurring polyphenol. We find it in, it's one of the most abundant polyphenols on earth. We find it in various fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, green tea, black tea, yerba mate tea. I've tried Clapper, Justin. They're frustrating. Yerba mate tea. I want to type in yerba mate in the comment section here so that you guys can see how that's spelled. Yerba mate. And it is most abundant in nature, meaning its most concentrated place is a green coffee bean. Green being unroasted. It has not been roasted yet. So when they pluck it, when they harvest it, that is the green coffee bean. When they roast it, which is how we typically consume our coffee, is with a roasted coffee bean. But when it's green, it is most abundant in a green coffee bean. And for that reason, chlorogenic acid or a green coffee bean, a lot of the research around chlorogenic acid revolves around coffee consumption, okay? Green tea is wonderful, Helena. She asks if green tea is good. It is wonderful for us, okay? So step 1, Lexi, is intermittent fasting, a 16 and 8 time-based eating schedule. Let's talk about chlorogenic acid. I want to rewind the clock about 500 to 1,000 years, and we're going to travel to an area of South America that is now Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay. The indigenous people of that region of South America were consuming yerba mate tea. And they would say that it made them feel full. It gave them an amazing boost of energy. They would say that yerba mate tea, and they still do, say that it is the drink of the gods. It is the national drink of Argentina. This is just, it's a staple in South America. So Sherry says, great tea. I love that. So great tea. So Sherry, you're obviously familiar with yerba mate. It is a very popular, in fact, it's the most widely consumed tea in South America. Can I spell the tea? I just put it up there, yerba mate tea. Now, what gave those indigenous people those amazing sensations? It was the chlorogenic acid. Okay, the chlorogenic acid in yerba mate tea, we know through science, chlorogenic acid, well, actually, I'm going to name off a few things here. And as I name these few things off, do me a favor and just keep a tally and put in the comment section how many of these you would like help with, okay? As I name them off, just count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just put a comment in the comment section of how many you would like help with. We know through science that chlorogenic acid aids in weight loss. Number 1, it aids in weight loss. It is an appetite suppressant. It helps lower blood pressure. And for the sake of this conversation, it helps promote insulin sensitivity. So of those 4 that I just named off, how many would you like help with? 1, 2, 3, or 4, right? It's an appetite suppressant. It aids in weight loss. It helps lower blood pressure. It helps promote insulin sensitivity. Don't they do energy drinks too? Justin, we're going to talk about energy drinks in step 3. I'm sure that somebody has ruined yerba mate with turning it into an energy drink. And a lot of people are saying 4. Sherry says steps 1, 2, and 3. Colleen says all 3. Robin says 3. Okay. I hope I have your ear now with regard to chlorogenic acid, okay? Let's talk about glucagon-like peptide 1, GLP-1. Okay, GLP-1 is an incretin hormone that's developed in your gut. And what we know about GLP-1 is when GLP-1 levels are elevated, appetite goes down. When GLP-1 is elevated, stomach dumping slows down. When GLP-1 is elevated, the fat cell shrinks. When GLP-1 is elevated, glucose and insulin are suppressed. So it would make sense that, hey, we want to increase GLP-1 production, glucagon-like peptide 1. And there's this whole new class of medications that are called GLP-1 receptor agonists. And people just call them GLP-1s, which makes it sound like people are being injected with GLP-1, but that's not the case. Those medications are actually a chemical that are antagonizing your body into producing more GLP-1. Your body does the work. They're just making you do more work, okay? And what they're doing is they're getting your body to induce more GLP-1. So those GLP-1 receptor agonists are things like semaglutides, which the name brands would be Ozempic, Wegovy. There is an oral form of that called Rybelsus. There's tirzepatides, which would be, I believe I said that word right, I probably butchered it. Mounjaro, Zepbound, there's Trulicity, there's Saxenda. What those medications are doing is really kind of forcing your body to produce more of something that it already produces. And in doing so, they are forcing the fat cell to shrink. They are forcing glucose down. They're forcing insulin down. They're forcing the stomach to slow down the stomach dumping process. So they're doing all of this, and it makes sense. It's a big benefit for us. Now, how many people are listening to me right now? How many people are listening to me right now that are on by the way, those medications, Dr. Ben Bickman would say and this is from Bickman, and I'm going to paraphrase, I don't have the exact quote, but if 1 to 10 is a natural range of GLP-1, those medications push us to an 11. And it's not without side effects. If you go to Mounjaro's webpage, it will say, boxed warning on the page, it will say possible thyroid C-cell tumors, including cancer. Go to Ozempic, same thing. Possible thyroid C-cell tumors, including cancer. They all say that. Every single one of them say that. And I would argue that, man, that's a hefty price to pay to lose weight or to control your glucose. And the fact that people are willing to do that really just shows, I mean, when you're willing to risk thyroid cancer to lose weight, that really just shows the desperation that as a population we really have, right? And I understand that desperation all too well. I was on Trulicity myself. But is it really, really worth it? You lose your weight, you control your glucose, and then you get thyroid cancer. They also have a side effect of gastroparesis. They slow that stomach dumping down so much that it actually causes a paralyzing of the stomach muscles. When you shrink the fat cells as quickly as they do, there needs to be something to pick up that metabolic burden, and that's the way that Dr. Bickman words it. And the way that they pick up that metabolic burden is by developing more fat cells. The term is hyperplasia or hyperplastic fat stores. They are taking hypertrophic fat stores and converting them to hyperplastic fat stores, multiplying. And that's why when you see people come off of those medications, they don't just put the weight on quickly. Oftentimes they put more weight on. We've seen that, right? We've seen that happen. Well, that's why they have more fat cells than they did when they began. And that's why now you're seeing doctors that say, no, you got to stay on this thing for life, right? Because They take you off of it, it's disastrous. Now, how many people are listening to me that are on a blood pressure medication? If you're on a blood pressure medication, type I am. Just type I am in the comment section, right? Blood pressure medication. And I'm going to ask, what are my thoughts on berberine? I don't have a problem with berberine at all. Sherry says she's on. Cassie, there's a lot of people. A lot of people. I can't keep up with this. A lot of people are on blood pressure medication. Shocking, right? Okay. A lot of people. Now, how many of you are on, and this time, instead of typing I am, type me. How many of you are on lisinopril? Lisinopril to control your blood pressure. And I'm going to throw something out at you that might be, type me if you're on lisinopril. And did you know that lisinopril is derived from snake venom? Google it. It's derived from snake venom because snake venom will lower your blood pressure. And if you encapsulate it, well, it'll lower your blood pressure. So interesting, right? And my question revolving around that is, it's right. It's not snake venom. It's derived from it. But what if we were to call snake venom a poison? And if you were to say that high blood pressure is a symptom of insulin resistance, right? A sick body, right? You're sick. High blood pressure is a symptom of being sick, right? You're sick. And so is our logic as a society to take an unhealthy body and poison it to good health? Is our logic to take an unhealthy body and poison it to good health? Now, I'm not suggesting you just go and quit taking your lisinopril, but I want you to think about that statement, right? Have a conversation with your doctor, but think about that statement and go and Google it. I'm not making that up. What if I could show you proof that chlorogenic acid, remember I'm talking about chlorogenic acid. What if I could show you proof that chlorogenic acid lowers blood pressure? Would you be interested in that? Type yes or no. If I could show you proof that chlorogenic acid lowers blood pressure, would you be interested? Type yes or no in the comment section. And to that point, I want to point out that chlorogenic acid is a naturally occurring polyphenol. It's in freaking green coffee. A lot of people on TikTok typing yes. A lot of people typing yes. Ruffy says a big yes. Right? We'd be curious in that, right? Okay. I'm going to show that proof. How many people are listening to me that are on metformin? If you're on metformin, and don't type yes to this, just type love it or hate it. If you're on metformin, do you love it or do you hate it? Let's just start with that. Let's see how many people say they love it and how many people say they hate it, right? If you're on it, type love it or hate it. Let's just go there. Well, it got silent. I saw some people say me or I am. My husband love it. Cassie loves metformin. Quite possibly the first person ever. And I hated it. I'm not going to lie. To me, it was the poop drug. I felt like, Mama Bear, how are you? Not. It was the one that just upset my stomach to the point where my wife and I would refer to them as metformin moments, right? Where you're sitting there in a board meeting or something and you're like, man, I got to go to the bathroom right now. Justin, hate it. I hate taking any medicines. User 6834 took it for 4 days. Did nothing for me at all, not even upset stomach. Well, okay. What if I could show you some research that suggests that chlorogenic acid acts in a similar way to metformin? Would you be interested in that? If I could show you, again, chlorogenic acid, naturally occurring polyphenol, if I could show you some research that suggests that it acts in a similar fashion to metformin, would you be interested in that? Yes or no? Justin, hate running to the bathroom, hoping to make it. There's nothing more degrading than that, right? User 6703 says, yeah, I'd be interested in that, right? Okay. Roberta, yes. Okay. How many of you are on a GLP-1 receptor agonist? Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, Trulicity, Saxenda, Ribelsis. How many of you are on one of those? Type me or I am in the comment section. And what if I could show you proof that chlorogenic acid induces GLP-1 as well? Would you be interested in that? Right? Okay, let's get to some proof as promised. When you can get Mounjaro, Helena, right? It's difficult to even get it at times, right? Let's go. I'm going to share my screen here. Let's start with this. Google. What foods have chlorogenic acid? In addition to coffee, fruits, and vegetables, as well as Chinese herbal medicines, are also a wide range of sources of chlorogenic acid. A lot of the research on chlorogenic acid revolves around coffee. So you're going to see a lot of references to coffee, but keep in mind, if you don't like coffee, this is literally one of the most abundant polyphenols on earth, okay? But a lot of the research is going to revolve around coffee. This one right here, this is from NIH. I found this on nih.gov, PubMed. If you are on a blood pressure medication, this one's for you. And if you're unfamiliar with NIH or PubMed, this is an official website of the United States government. You'll see that up top in the very fine print up top. But on PubMed, I found this, the effects of chlorogenic acid on blood pressure. This is a systematic review and meta-analysis of randomized clinical trials. If I have any medical professionals or scientists or anything like that listening to me, would you do me a favor and validate? This is kind of the gold bar standard for research, right? Is a systematic review and meta-analysis of randomized clinical trials. This is as good as it gets, correct? If you are a medical professional or scientist or researcher for that matter, is this good place to look? And I'm going to scroll down, and they go on to conclude. In conclusion, the evidence from published randomized clinical trials suggests that chlorogenic acid intake causes statistically significant reductions in systolic and diastolic blood pressures. We have proof that chlorogenic acid reduces blood pressure. Statistically significant, by the way, that's big. And again, I just want to point out that it's naturally occurring. It is in your pear. It's in your coffee. It's in your green tea, your yerba mate tea. It's in fruits, nuts, vegetables. Okay? Now, to the people that are on metformin, this one may be of interest to you. Again, from PubMed, I found this. Chlorogenic acid improves glucose tolerance, lipid metabolism, inflammation, and microbiota composition in diabetic mice. Chlorogenic acid and diabetic mice, right? And let's go to the results. The results showed that chlorogenic acid decreased body weight and improved glucose tolerance and insulin resistance, and these effects were similar to those of metformin. I think the last portion of that sentence is powerful. And these effects were similar to those of metformin. From PubMed Central this time, this PubMed Central, roles of chlorogenic acid on regulating glucose and lipids metabolism. This is a review, understanding that, but I want to scroll down and we are going to go to here. For example, it is reported that daily consumption of 3 to 4 cups of decaffeinated coffee containing high contents of chlorogenic acid significantly reduced the risk for type 2 diabetes mellitus by 30%. Chlorogenic acid is a novel insulin sensitizer that potentiates insulin action similar to the therapeutic action of metformin. Pretty powerful. Chlorogenic acid is a novel insulin sensitizer that potentiates insulin action similar to the therapeutic action of metformin. Okay, this is Dr. Andrew Huberman. Has anybody heard of Dr. Andrew Huberman? Robert asks the question, how much should we take in a day? Or, Roberta, I'm sorry. Increase your chlorogenic acid. Let me talk about Andrew Huberman, okay? I'm just going to give you a rundown of who this guy is. This, by the way, he is an associate professor of neurobiology at Stanford Medicine. I don't imagine they would be hiring me. You have to be really smart to get that job, right? An associate professor of neurobiology at Stanford Medicine. Now, if we scroll down on his page, this is, by the way, on stanford.edu, you'll find his professional education. He received his bachelor's from the University of California, Santa Barbara in psychology. He received his master's from the University of California, Berkeley. He received his PhD from the University of Cal Davis, and then his postdoctorate work was done at Stanford. The guy is brilliant, right? This is Dr. Andrew Huberman talking about ways, if you are on a GLP-1 receptor agonist, if you are listening to me and you're taking Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro, Zepbound, Trulicity, Saxenda, the oral form of the semaglutide, Rybelsus, if you're on one of those, do me a favor and listen to Dr. Huberman, that brilliant man, talk about yerba mate tea.
South America was looking at Gila monsters, those really scary things, and he realized they don't have to eat very often. I wonder if they're hungry all the time or not. Turns out it takes their blood, isolates a peptide, which turns out to be GLP-1, puts it into other animals, and realizes it suppresses appetite. Amazing, right? Like this is what I love about biology. Some dude who studies Gila monsters. Turns out humans make GLP-1. GLP-1 is stimulated by things like yerba mate tea, certain other compounds, plant compounds, stimulate its release. But what does it do in the hypothalamus? It suppresses hunger by way of, there's a particular brain arcuate pathway, blah, blah, blah. But it also affects the mechanosensors of the gut so that you feel like your gut's full. Like it's almost like you're getting like a pharmacologic stapled stomach, right? So when people take a drug that mimics GLP-1, their brain is like, well, I'm not as hungry, and their stomach feels full even though it's empty. The guy down.
How interesting is that? How interesting is that? Rhonda, how are you? I see Rhonda has joined this live stream. If you are on and I think Nate, I don't know if Nate is still in here or not, but if you are Nate, do you find that to be interesting? Okay. Todd, Great Britain, how are you? Our Todd is from the United Kingdom. We're getting all the way across the pond. Okay, now, Stephanie, there you go. Increase your chlorogenic acid intake, okay? Increase your chlorogenic acid. Is there anybody that has any questions about the value of chlorogenic acid, where to get it, that sort of thing, or is it pretty well understood? I'll go ahead and share this screen here. Does chlorogenic acid reverse insulin resistance? Yes, it does. There's about 203,000 results. Go and research it yourself, okay? Yerba mate, yes, that is the correct spelling as well. User 6703, yerba mate. Are there any questions about that? I do want to talk about a supplement that I take. Somebody asked a moment ago how much. I do take a supplement that is quite concentrated in chlorogenic acid. I want to talk about that, but I don't want to talk about it until people have kind of said that they're ready to talk about it. If you're ready to hear about that, type the word ready. Otherwise, ask questions about step 2, chlorogenic acid, where to get it. Is there anybody that has any questions about it, or are you ready to hear about the supplement? Ready. Roberta says ready. Sherry says ready. Okay. Okay. We know that yerba mate is a great source. We just learned it from Dr. Andrew Huberman. Yerba mate is a great source. This is a yerba mate extract. Okay, a yerba mate extract. What does that mean? Well, that yerba leaf really is only grown in the regions of South America that are Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay. That leaf is hand selected and has been for 1,000 years. There's a trained eye that sees when it's ready to be harvested. And then they're hand selected, and that window really is about a week or two. Now, this company is still purchasing the leaf from those original farmers, okay? They are still fire roasting it in a very similar way to the way that it's always been fire roasted. But at that point, they kind of stop the traditional process. And what they do with this is they extract the things that we want, the things like chlorogenic acid, the things like theobromine. Now, I haven't talked a whole lot about theobromine, but if you've ever heard anybody say, hey, if you're depressed, go and eat some dark chocolate. Dark chocolate might pick up your spirits. Well, that's theobromine that's doing that to you. If you know anybody that suffers from gout, theobromine has been shown to aid in the relief of the crystallization of the uric acid at the surface of the skin. That is gout. So theobromine is a wonderful thing as well. They extract the good stuff like chlorogenic acid and theobromine. Then they take that product and they cleanse it. They purify it. They get rid of the things that we don't want, the things like pesticides and heavy metals. They get rid of those and then they concentrate it. Now, remember, coffee is the most abundant resource for chlorogenic acid on Earth naturally. This little packet here has about 10 times the chlorogenic acid of a typical cup of coffee, about 20 times that of a typical cup of yerba mate. So when I say that I drink this particular tea, it's because it has a lot of chlorogenic acid. Furthermore, you've heard me talk about Dr. Ben Bickman quite a bit. This guy right here, bear with me a moment. This guy right here, Dr. Ben Bickman, professor of cell biology and physiology at BYU, world's leading metabolic scientist. Dr. Ben Bickman has now studied this particular tea, not yerba mate, but this particular one. He studied it multiple times. He's published one study, which can be found. Bear with me. I'm going to find it. Let's see. Here we go. This study right here, yerba mate supplement. This was published in October of last year, so it's relatively new, and you'll see it was performed by Dr. Ben Bickman. Now, he is currently performing another study on it. He's done with it, and it's being published as we speak. I can't go to it because it's not published just yet, but I can show you the video of him actually verbalizing the statement I'm about ready to make. But Dr. Ben Bickman says that this tea increases your body's own GLP-1 production by up to 70% during a fasted state. Now, if our goal is to increase GLP-1 production, Dr. Ben Bickman says that this tea increases it by up to 70% during a fasted state. We also know that this tea induces ketosis by up to 80 times faster than when we don't use it. So it is quite the product, and it costs about $1.72. So you're not spending an arm and a leg on it. I drink 2 to 3 of them per day, and I've had wonderful results. Okay, so are there any questions about steps 1 or 2? Step 1 being intermittent fasting, step 2 being consuming more chlorogenic acid. And really, I don't care where you get it, whether you get it from green coffee beans or nuts or fruits, vegetables, anything like that, or if you choose the supplement that I'm talking about. Are there any questions to hear, or are we ready for step 3? If you're ready for step 3, then do me a favor and type the word ready, and I'll move on to step 3. Nita Ree, welcome back. How are you, Nita Ree? Nita Ree asks, What is your tea? I missed it. You didn't miss it. I actually did not name it yet. And the reason I did not name it yet is because, well, truthfully, I found that when people hear the name, they jump out of my live stream, they go and Google it, they find out it is exactly what I said it is, and they miss step 3, which we're getting ready to start. So, and then also there are a lot of people who aren't interested in a commercial and they just want to learn how to deal with this naturally. And I'm never suggesting anybody has to buy anything. So out of respect for those people, I wait to give the names away until the end of the live stream for those people that are interested at the end of the live stream. So if you are interested, as we go further, let me know at the end and I'll jump into that. Okay. And it looks like you're okay with that. Good. Thank you. Okay. I'm working again. Okay. Love it. Okay. So it looks like we are ready. Diane, I'm assuming that's how I say that. Diane. Step 1 is intermittent fasting. Step 2 is consuming more chlorogenic acid. That's a naturally occurring polyphenol. Really, all you would have to do is go to Google and type in what are some excellent sources of chlorogenic acid and start consuming more of that. Okay. Also, for those of you that are just now joining this live stream, it is live across like 9 different platforms right now, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can go to any one of those sites after this live stream, and this live stream will still be up on them, so you'll be able to recap if you'd like. I also do a live stream every single day, so join me tomorrow if you want to interact with me. Okay, so with that being said, let's jump into step 3. It seems like everybody's ready for step 3. Step 3 of the protocol is consuming more fiber. Now, 93% of Americans, and I'm just talking about the United States, don't get their recommended daily intake of fiber. That's 95% of men and 91% of women. 93% of us overall don't get our recommended daily intake of fiber. I want to make a statement, and I'm curious how many people have heard this statement. A diet adequate in fiber drastically reduces your risk for heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. Justin, yes, you can find yerba mate local to us. I ordered the loose leaf yerba mate. I will tell you, you'll also want to buy some monk fruit or some. Justin asked the question. Let me address this real quick because it does a question about step 2. Can you find yerba mate tea local to us? Yes, you can. However, I order mine online. You're going to want to order some stevia or some monk fruit. To say that yerba mate is an acquired taste is probably the understatement of the year. It tastes awful by itself. It tastes like steeping grass clippings. It is horrible. You'll want to order loose leaf, and you'll want to put some sort of a sweetener in there like stevia or monk fruit, man, because it is not good. It's an acquired taste. The people of South America that have been drinking their entire lives, they're used to it, but it's quite bitter. And to me, I've never actually eaten grass clippings, but it's that same. Okay, hope that answers your question. Sherry says, I get it from the local herb shop. Sherry, the way that I just described it, I know that you like it, but is that accurate? It is a very acquired taste. It's not something that everybody is going to like the first time they drink it. Is that reasonably an accurate way to describe it, Sherry? Okay, it is. Okay, she says it is. That's a very accurate way of describing it. Okay. Okay. So with that being said, back to step 3 of the protocol. Step 3 of the protocol is consuming more fiber. Now, 93% of Americans don't get the recommended daily intake of fiber. That's 95% of men and 91% of women don't get the recommended daily intake of fiber. So what does that mean? Why does fiber matter? Well, fiber helps our bodies naturally regulate its glucose. And if we know that if we can regulate the glucose, then we can regulate the insulin. And if we are insulin resistant, we are at elevated risk for heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. So maybe you've heard the statement, a diet adequate in fiber drastically reduces your risk for heart disease, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. Have you heard that? And that's the full circle why. It helps us regulate our glucose. Now, how does fiber? That's the why. And now let's talk about the how. How does it work? There are two categories of fiber. There is a soluble fiber and there is an insoluble fiber. Now, insoluble fiber does not dissolve in water, while soluble fiber does. Insoluble fiber, my favorite example in the world of insoluble fiber is quinoa, that whole grain that maybe you've purchased. You boil it to tenderness. We like to add a little bit of chicken broth to ours to kind of give it a little bit more flavor. I actually like to season it with like Old Bay seasoning or Slap Ya Mama, something like that if I'm having it with fish. But you'll boil it to tenderness. Take about 20 minutes or so to cook. And the point that I'm making here, when you eat it, it goes in with a certain shape. And the next morning when you poop, it looks identical coming out the other side as it did going in. It does not dissolve in water. And what it does is it kind of goes through our gut tract, kind of like a Roto-Rooter. It gets rid of all of the food and stuff that we're not going to consume and forces our body to get rid of it. Now, soluble fiber, on the other hand, does dissolve in water. And soluble fiber will kind of form this sticky, thick, gelatinous, fibrous kind of matrix that lines the entire gut tract. And what happens there? When we eat something that it slows down the process of converting that food to glucose. So to make this a little bit more visual, let's say you don't have any fiber. The carbohydrate that you're eating has no fiber. Let's talk about white bread, okay? White bread, that is a staple in today's society, right? You eat that white bread, your body converts it to glucose right away. Now, what happens when it does that? We get a quick high glucose spike. Now, when we get a quick high glucose spike, what do we get with that? Is a quick high insulin response, and we don't want that. Now, if we have that thick, sticky, gooey, fibrous matrix throughout our gut tract, it slows down the body's ability to process that carb. So instead of getting a quick high glucose spike, we get a slow gradual climb. And if we get that slow gradual climb, what does that do to our insulin? It gives us a slow gradual climb on the insulin as well. Remember, the goal is to take ourselves out of that hyperinsulinemic state, take us out of the hyperinsulinemic state, and adding more fiber to your diet will do that. A good blend, and I'm going to say blend very, very intentionally here, a good blend of fiber is necessary. Now, the question, why are 93% of us, let's see, what's up, Jimmy? How are you, buddy? Jimmy, the healthy bartender. Sherry, I take a fiber gummy because of my weight loss surgery. You had gastric bypass, I'm assuming, or something like that. You had a sleeve or something. Okay. It's interesting to me, Sherry, and I'm not by any stretch of the means picking on you or anything like that, but it is always interesting to me the number of people that have had a gastric bypass or a sleeve or something like that that end up listening to my live streams. And I would question, was it successful initially and now you're finding yourself somewhat in the same boat as the one you were in when you started, when you went in for that operation? I'm not trying to pick. I'm just more curious. I guess I'm trying to answer my own curiosity because it happens quite often. I get a lot of people who listen to my live streams who have had gastric bypass or sleeve or something like that performed. And it's all, if the gastric bypass solved the problem, then why would you listen to me? Okay. A diet adequate in fiber drastically reduced. Now, why are 93% of us not getting our adequate fiber per day, our recommended daily intake of fiber per day? And it is 100% because of the overly processed foods that we're eating, right? And you've heard that before, have you not? Avoid the highly processed foods. Everybody's heard that before. And in fact, right about now, I've given you 3 steps. Can't break 200, was 320, now 215. By the way, I just want to pat you on the back. You're down 100+ pounds. That's amazing. Okay. I want to point out, I've given out 3 steps, and I would be willing to bet that you've heard all 3 of the steps that I've given. Step 1 was intermittent fasting. That could sound a lot like stop eating so much or stop eating so frequently. Probably, whether it was a bully or a doctor or somebody along the lines, or maybe it was a bully doctor, somebody along the lines has probably told you to stop eating so frequently, right? Or stop eating so much. Step 2 was consume more chlorogenic acid. A great form of that is tea or coffee. You've probably heard, hey, put down the soda, drink a tea. Probably heard that. And then finally, step 3 is avoid the highly processed foods. The point that I'm making is you've probably heard all 3 of these. You just haven't done it. And here you find yourself sick. And I hope that my information has helped maybe guide you to understanding why these things actually matter. And if you just do them, you stand a very good chance of getting healthy again very, very easily. So step 3, back to fiber, avoiding the highly processed foods. Dr. Bickman has a great saying, if it comes in a box or a bag and has a barcode, it's probably highly processed. Leave it alone. The center aisles of the grocery store are where you're going to find your highly processed foods. Avoid the center aisles of the grocery store, right? It makes sense. Where do you shop? The outer aisles of the grocery store. That's where you will find the minimally processed foods. And let's start with the produce section. The fruits and vegetables in the grocery store. Okay. Go over to the fruit section and get a wide variety of fruits. And when I'm talking about fruits, I really want to be specific here. Let's stick to skin on, less sweet fruits. Okay. So fruits like apples, where you can consume the skin of the fruit. There's a lot of polyphenols. Remember, chlorogenic acid is a polyphenol. There's a lot of polyphenols in the skin. There's a lot of fiber there. We want to increase our fiber. Strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, things where we can consume the skin of the fruit. We're going to minimize the skin off fruits. Excuse me. Things like, let's say things like oranges, bananas, that sort of thing, grapefruit. In fact, if you have an orange, what does it do to your glucose? If you have a banana, what does it do to your glucose? And this is just kind of a guiding light. It's not necessarily an end all. So let's maybe say more of the tropical skin off fruits, because another example of a skin off fruit would be an avocado. You should eat all the avocados you can possibly eat. That is a wonderful food. It is like a superfood. So maybe we're talking about tropical skin off fruits, okay? But definitely consume more avocado. More of a guiding light than a definitive, right? Skin off, less sweet. Skin on, less sweet is what we're trying to eat. Now go over to the vegetable section, and you don't have to be quite as picky over there. In the vegetable section, get a wide variety of vegetables. Get a wide variety of the leafy ones, a wide variety of the cruciferous ones. When you're over in the vegetable section, we're going to stick to above ground, less starchy vegetables. Above ground, less starchy. So that is absolutely a jab at this this potato thing that is a society that we have. We consume a lot of potatoes. We have hash browns for breakfast, French fries or tater tots for lunch, and then a plethora of different ways to cook potatoes for dinner, mashed potatoes, that sort of thing. I hate to break it to you, but potatoes are very high in the glycemic index. There's virtually no fiber in a cooked potato. They are causing your glucose to spike, and we don't want to do that. So let's minimize the potatoes. We're going to avoid the below ground starchy vegetables, and we're going to avoid the highly processed foods. How are you, Cindy? I see you there. Okay, what questions do we have, if any, about step 3 of the protocol, which is simply increasing our fiber? Does anybody have any questions about that? I do want to talk about a supplement that I take as well. on the fiber side of things. But again, like the tea, I'm never suggesting that anybody has to take any supplements, okay? Cindy, how are you? Okay, Helena, my husband makes mashed cauliflower and he makes it into taste like a potato. That is a great solution, Helena. Mashed cauliflower. I love it. I eat it all the time. Someone who wants to take out fries, love it, right? Yeah. What's your take on sweet potatoes? Amanda, I love the question. I get asked that question all of the time, so many times, so that I've actually got kind of I'm prepared for that question. I love it, and I'm actually going to thank you for that question, okay? Let me do a deep dive into that, because I said avoid below-ground starchy vegetables, right? So what I want to do is, who is familiar with the who's familiar with the glycemic index? Justin says real quick, natural sugar in fruit is still sugars that we are trying to avoid. So how is fruit helpful, Justin? We're not going to go over the top with it. And if we do have fruits, we're going to stick to skin on, less sweet. And I want to come back to this one. What's your take on sweet potato? Okay, coming back to that, we've heard of the glycemic index. Cindy says she's heard of the glycemic index. Okay, so here we go. I want to touch on what is the glycemic index really quick. And to do that, I'm going to need to share my screen. Okay, what is the glycemic index? Okay, this is, by the way, this is from the Mayo Clinic. This is a write-up that they have on the glycemic index. The glycemic index ranks food on a scale from 0 to 100. The low end of the scale has foods that have little effect on blood sugar levels. The high end of the scale has foods with a big effect. Now, to that point, we want to avoid foods that have a big effect on your blood sugar levels. We want to avoid foods that are high. We want to gravitate towards foods that are low. Now, technically speaking, there is a numeric value tied to those. So you don't have to guess. If the food is low, which is 1 to 55, you're solid. If the food is medium, 56 to 69, take that one in moderation. If the food is 70 or above, that is high. We want to strongly avoid foods that are high in the glycemic index. Now, do you have to memorize the numbers, or can you just look for foods that are low? Just try and just gravitate towards foods that are low. But let's look at some examples. And Justin, if you're still listening to me, which I think you are, here's a great example, kind of to your question of fruits are still sugars, natural sugars, which we're trying to regulate, right? So what are examples of foods that are high in the glycemic index? White rice, white bread, potatoes. Potatoes are high in the glycemic index. This, again, guys, is coming from the Mayo Clinic. I'm not making this up. This is from the Mayo Clinic. Foods that are low in the glycemic index. Green vegetables, most fruits. I say most fruits. We're avoiding those tropical skin off fruits, but most fruits are low in the glycemic index. Raw carrots, not cooked carrots. When you cook the carrot, it raises the glycemic index. Kidney beans, chickpeas, lentils, those are examples of foods that are low in the glycemic index. So if you want to control your glucose, allow the glycemic index to kind of steer your way towards your food choices. Gravitate towards foods that are low and avoid foods that are high. Now, I would be willing to wager that most of you, most of society tends to gravitate towards foods that are high, white rice, white bread, and potatoes, and we strongly avoid foods that are low. We've got this thing flipped around. It's upside down, and then we wonder why we get sick. Well, stop eating the wrong foods and control your blood sugar better, and you'll find you aren't going to get as sick as frequently. Now, to that point, what I want to do is go over here to healthline.com. And really what I did was I Googled what is the glycemic index of sweet potatoes. Ready? And again, this little article will talk about low is 55 or less, medium is 56 to 69, and high is 70 or above. How many of you boil? I'm going to ask some questions along the way. How many of you boil your sweet potatoes? Just a question. How many of you boil your sweet potatoes? And I imagine it's probably not a whole lot of you. Not many people boil their sweet potatoes. But if you boil your sweet potato for 30 minutes, and I want to really zone in on that. If you boil your sweet potato for 30 minutes, it has a low glycemic index value of 46. That is wonderful. We want to eat foods that are low in the glycemic index. Boiling it for 30 minutes, it is low in the glycemic index. However, if you boil it for just 8 minutes, it has a glycemic index of 61, which is medium. Not awful, but not good. So boiling it for 30 minutes is ideal. Now, how many of you roast your sweet potato? There's the question. I think roasting a sweet potato is far more common than boiling a sweet potato. How many of you roast your sweet potato? Now, if we roast our sweet potato, we have a glycemic index of 82. 82. That is high. We don't want to roast the sweet potato. That's not good. That's going to cause your glucose to spike. And when we spike our glucose, we spike our insulin. Not good. How many of you bake your sweet potato? I would argue that a baked sweet potato is probably the most common method. So do you bake your sweet potato? Are you ready? If you bake it for 45 minutes, it has a glycemic index of 94. 94. That is extremely high in the glycemic index. That is going to spike your glucose. That is going to spike your insulin. That is going to create havoc in your body. Don't be baking your sweet potatoes. Now, one final one. We go to the restaurant and they've got the option of traditional French fries or sweet potatoes. How many of us go for the sweet potato because it's healthier? And I'm sure you can already see this one coming from a mile away, right? How many of you order the sweet potatoes because it's a better option than the fried potato? Here we go. If you fry a sweet potato, it has a glycemic index of 76, again, high in the glycemic index. Not as good as you want it to be. Okay. I'm just now catching up to the comments. A lot of people are shocked by that, right? So whoever it was that asked the question about sweet potatoes, thank you. What that really does is gives me an opportunity to illustrate that the method of preparation changes the glycemic index. In fact, if you add butter to a food, that could change the glycemic index. If you add fiber to a food, it will change the glycemic index. There are ways to modify the glycemic index or lower the glycemic index, if you will, by adding things or changing the method of preparation. I mentioned earlier that raw carrots are good. Cooked carrots are not. You take that up to a high glycemic index value when you cook it. So, and that works for me because truthfully, I hate cooked carrots. I love raw carrots. So if you're going to have a carrot, do it the way that I've been saying to do it for my entire life. Raw. Eat it raw. Helena Bean, all potatoes are the same. Yeah, potatoes are high. Okay, are there any questions so far, or are we ready to talk about the supplement that I take as far as fiber? If we're ready for the supplement, type ready. Otherwise, feel free to ask along the way any questions about step 3, which is including more fiber in your diet. The only thing we can eat is seafood, chicken with certain vegetable and fruits. Sometimes it's boring. That is not true. That is not true. Okay, we got a lot of people that are ready for the supplement that I take. Sherry says she's ready. Roberta is ready. Marcia is ready. Maritz, I'm not sure how to say that, is ready. Oh, I want to touch on this real quick. I've read that bringing cooked pasta or rice to a cold state, and then reheating lowers the glycemic index. What you're referring to is resistant starch. And I have noticed, I do wear a CGM, and I have noticed a difference in my overall spikes when I do that. However, I don't know that I wouldn't say that it keeps my blood sugar down. Ultimately, my CGM still says that it goes up pretty high, higher than other foods. So even if you're going to practice that method of resistant starch, I still minimize that. Dr. Ken Berry, who's pretty prominent on all social media outlets, but Dr. Ken Berry would say at the end of the day, it's still a long chain sugar. It doesn't really matter. It's still going to cause a problem. So with that in mind, I do see a little bit of a value in my CGM when I do that resistant starch method of cooling potatoes, rice, that sort of thing. If you cook it and then cool it for 24 hours, there is a gentleman on TikTok who is notorious for eating foods and showing what it does to his CGM. And he did one on rice, and he added some coconut oil, which is high in medium chain triglycerides. And he actually saw a pretty drastic reduction. I did that. I added a tablespoon of coconut oil to some Parish rice, which is advertised as being low in the glycemic index. And I cooked it to doneness. I put it into a thing, put it in the fridge for a day, and then I ate it. And I did notice that my glucose did not spike as high right away, but overnight it did gradually climb to about 180 or 190, something like that. So I did notice something there. It just wasn't a quick high spike. It was more of a slow, gradual climb, but it kept climbing. So I hope that kind of addresses that. Okay, we're ready for the supplement. Guys, how many people are listening to me that are on a statin medication, like a cholesterol lowering medication, something like, say, Lipitor or Crestor? And if you are on one, would you mind typing the name of the medication that you're on? Lipitor, Crestor, Zocor, atorvastatin calcium, rosuvastatin calcium, simvastatin, pravastatin, fluvastatin. There's so many of these things out there now, right? If you wouldn't mind just typing the name of what it is that you're on. Now, I want to talk about statin medications, and I want to play a video from Dr. Ben Bickman. Again, this is in my video library on TikTok. I really, really recommend you guys, when we're done, go sifting through the videos on my TikTok. If you're not following me on TikTok, you should. And then go and watch the videos and check out this video from Dr. Bickman, again, one of the world's leading metabolic scientists, talking about statin therapy.
Cholesterol is a molecule of life. Despite our general societal fear of it, it is involved in countless processes within every cell of the body. Unfortunately, our fear or hatred of cholesterol has given rise to the use of statins, which is a general class of medication that act to inhibit the body's ability to create cholesterol. Well, that is a good way, a statin, to lower your cholesterol. There are consequences to this. Here's a manuscript that was just published in the European Journal of Pharmacology, and it outlines the evidence implicating statins as a molecule or a drug that increases the risk of insulin resistance and therefore type 2 diabetes. Ironically, insulin resistance is a greater predictor and risk factor for heart disease than LDL cholesterol is. So tragically, and again, ironically, despite lowering cholesterol levels, by increasing insulin resistance, we may be making the problem even worse.
Okay. I want to talk about something now called the Physician's Desk Reference. Maybe you've heard of the Physician's Desk Reference. This is that giant book that was on your doctor's desk for years and years and years, right? That thick book. This is what your doctor trusts to tell them information about commonly prescribed medications, things like Lipitor or atorvastatin calcium or Crestor or rosuvastatin calcium, right? Simvastatin. This is the book that they go to. It tells them how to prescribe it, what the contraindications are for it, what the potential drug interactions are, adverse reactions, and so on and so forth. This is where they go to learn about all these medications is the physician's desk reference, okay? Now, the reason I talk about the physician's desk reference is it is available online now. Let me find my tab. I have to find it real quick. Let's see. Well, we'll just go here. Share this tab. Yes, I am showing it. Okay, cool. What I'm going to do is I'm going to type in PDR. And it will take us to pdr.net. Okay, that will take you to the prescriber's digital reference. It is now the electronic version of this. And what you can do, you've got full access to it. It's not a paid subscription or anything like that. Go to the PDR and put in your medications. Look up what the actual adverse reactions are. Look at what the potential side effects, what the potential drug interactions are. What I want to do is I want to start with Lipitor. If you mentioned atorvastatin calcium, Lipitor is the brand name for atorvastatin, which is the generic, right? And so Lipitor, you'll see it right here. We can click on that and we can see the drug summary and you'll see the adverse reactions. And I like to talk about this a little bit because sometimes maybe we don't realize what the potential side effects are for the medications that we're taking. So tendon rupture, that's always an interesting one, right? Renal failure, that's a big one. Pancreatitis, nasty. Lupus-like symptoms. Stroke, how about that one? Stroke. Now, if you go and look up the moderate adverse reactions, number one on that list is diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus. And I've had people come at me and say, these are moderate adverse reactions. It's very, very rare that this happens, okay? So let's take that for what it's worth. It is rare that it happens. I don't think it's as rare as what they say, and I'm going to show you proof to that as well. But for those rare, how many of you maybe suffer from memory impairment or confusion or amnesia or depression, right? How many of you maybe suffer from some of those? Now let's talk about Crestor, which is the next most commonly prescribed statin in the United States. It's known as rosuvastatin calcium. That's the one that I was on. We can go and hit the drug summary there. And adverse reactions again. Severe adverse reactions, we'll find a lot of the same ones. Renal failure, pancreatitis, going down to the moderate adverse reaction, diabetes mellitus again. Did you know that your statin medication had a side effect of diabetes mellitus? Anybody? And to that point, let's talk about this. This is PubMed Central, NIH. This was just published in July of last year, assessing the link between statins and insulin intolerance. This is a systematic review. Now, they looked at nearly 47 million participants, and the findings suggest that the use of statins is associated with a decrease in insulin sensitivity and insulin resistance. This systematic review provides evidence that the use of statins may have an adverse effect on insulin sensitivity and increase insulin resistance. There is another study right here. This one is pretty interesting as well. Let me show you here real quick. This one was done in September of last year. Statins and the risk of type 2 diabetes. If we scroll down, in a meta-analysis of 15 observational studies, the risk of incident type 2 diabetes was 55%. In 4 individual studies, the risk of incident type 2 diabetes was from 36 to 48%. And in the US veteran study, 21 to 22% for low and medium potency statins like pravastatin and fluvastatin, and 34% for high potency statins like simvastatin, atorvastatin, and rosuvastatin. Why, oh why? We've got Ruffy. Ruffy wants to know what that study is. Let me show you right here. I'll go up, and Ruffy, what you can do is go to Google and you can type in this PubMed ID, 37795366. And I'll take, 5 seconds for a screenshot if you'd like. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then I'll jump over to this one here. You can look up this PubMed ID as well. This was the other one that I showed you. PubMed ID 37465091. And I'll count down from 5 for another screenshot. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what we've got are we've got proof that has everybody lost audio with me? Has everybody lost audio? I see somebody, Helena says she lost audio. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Hear you loud and clear. Okay. It's bad. Okay, here we go. All right. Thank you. Okay. So what I want to do, I'm going to start talking about the fiber supplement that I take. I'm going to ask the question, do you guys remember Rexall Pharmacy? Anybody remember Rexall Pharmacy? If you can recall Rexall Pharmacy, just type I do, right? Rexall Pharmacy developed a blend of fiber. Remember, that's key. We want a blend of fiber. We want both soluble and insoluble fiber. A blend of fiber, not just a single source. Oftentimes, it'll get confused with something like Metamucil. I don't have a problem with that, but Metamucil is psyllium husk. Benefiber is like wheat dextrin. This is a blend of 7 different types of plant-based fiber. There are 5 separate patents on this. One of those patents is over a vitamin complex. See, what Rexall Pharmacy did was they thought that a blend of fiber was necessary, but they also thought that vitamin supplementation was important. And so what they did was they put the vitamins into the fiber supplement, the two together. That fiber multivitamin combination is what it's called, fiber multivitamin combination therapy. Do those two things matter when they are put together? Now, let me bring this full circle here. We talked about statins. This right here, go to Google and type into Google, what is the top heart hospital in the United States? And it will tell you the Cleveland Clinic. The Cleveland Clinic is and has been for some time now widely perceived to be the top heart hospital in the United States. Maybe you're in the medical professional and you're not going to say that they're number 1. Maybe you'll say that they're number 2 or 3 or 5. Typically, you're going to give them an honorable mention as somebody to listen to when we're talking about heart health, right? Now, why do I bring them up? Well, let me see here. The Cleveland Clinic did a research paper on a fiber multivitamin combination therapy. The Cleveland Clinic studied this product from Rexall Pharmacy. They did it more than 20 years ago. This study was from the Preventative Cardiology section. The Cleveland Clinic Foundation, Cleveland, Ohio, submitted November 15, 2001, and accepted February 14, 2002, more than 20 years ago. Now, what they did was looking at the LDL response alone, they would say by the time of the interim visit, which was 4 weeks after randomization, the treatment group demonstrated significantly lower LDL-C than the placebo group. That trend continued through the next 4 weeks to the end of the blinded phase. In fact, they would look at LDL, total cholesterol, HDL, triglycerides, overall body weight, glucose, ApoB. In every instance, the Cleveland Clinic, the America's top heart hospital, found that this product improved every one of those categories. So much so that they would conclude such a product if taken regularly, could reduce cardiovascular risk on a population basis and potentially decrease the need and/or dose for lipid-lowering prescription drugs. America's top heart hospital, more than 20 years ago, said that we had a solution for high cholesterol, high LDL, low HDL, triglycerides, ApoB, glucose, body weight. The Cleveland Clinic, more than 20 years ago, said, hey, there's something out here. By the way, this is plant-based, all natural, no side effects. We know what we know about statins now. They said more than 20 years ago, this could potentially replace the need and/or dose for statins. Now, I talked a little while ago about the glycemic index. We were talking, I used the Mayo Clinic to describe the glycemic index, right? What if we went to Google and asked, what is the home of the glycemic index? Google would say the International Glycemic Index database and website are led by Professor Jenny Brand Miller at the University of Sydney, Australia. Get that name in your head. Professor Jenny Brand Miller at the University of Sydney, Australia. Why do I talk about Professor Jenny Brand Miller? If we go to glycemicindex.com, and you hit the About page for that, it will promptly talk about her. That is Professor Jenny Brand Miller. She is a doctor. She's an internationally recognized authority on carbohydrates and the glycemic index with over 250 scientific publications. Dr. Jenny Brand Miller is one of the world's leading authorities on the study of glucose regulation, carbohydrates, glycemic index. She's an absolute powerhouse, 250 scientific publications. The world recognizes her as somebody we should listen to. Why do I talk about Dr. Jenny Brand Miller? Because Dr. Jenny Brand Miller, while at the University of Sydney, Australia, studied the same supplement. And she studied it, actually, of all things, against white bread, white rice, and mashed potato. In each case, remember those are high in the glycemic index. In each case, she found that it lowered both the glycemic as well as the insulin index. It took all three of those foods from the high glycemic index and moved them into the medium glycemic index. Again, we want to strongly avoid foods that are high. It took a food that was otherwise bad and moved it into the medium. Still not something we need to be consuming all the time, but it made it a little bit better. Okay, Dr. Jenny Brand Miller. She studied it a second time, and the second time they studied it, they gave test patients white bread, 100 on the glycemic index. White bread is a 100, by the way. And they gave them either 1 or 2 packets of that supplement. They found that 1 serving caused a 20% reduction in blood glucose. 2 servings was a 28% reduction in blood glucose. But more importantly, since we're talking so much about insulin, a second study in that one revealed a 13 to 27% reduction in blood insulin levels. So when I say that I use this supplement, that is why. It's got the backing of science, and we've been taught so frequently to follow the science. In fact, there are more than a dozen clinical validation studies that have been done on this, more than a dozen. I want to point out the 2 products together. The chairman, the director of the scientific advisory board for this company, let's see, is the director of the scientific advisory board is this guy right here, Dr. Ben Bickman. The world's leading metabolic scientist is the director of the scientific advisory board for this company. So with that being said, these 2 products together cost $154 per month. That's $5 per day. The manufacturer offers a 90-day money-back guarantee. If you are not completely satisfied after 90 days, they will give you all of your money back. What they are guaranteeing you is that you will see a reduction in your blood glucose. You will see a reduction in your A1C. You will see a reduction in your cholesterol. You will see a reduction in your blood pressure. You will see a reduction in your body weight. They are guaranteeing it. If you don't, if you are not satisfied, ask for a refund. You'll get all of that money back, 100% of the money back, no questions asked. Okay. So with that being said, understanding that's $154 per month from the manufacturer, is there anybody who is interested in more information about how to buy it? And if you are interested in more information on how to buy it, type the word interested and I will talk more about that. Outside of that, I'm kind of done with the live stream. If there's anybody that has any questions, just in general about my diet, about anything, ask me questions and I am a wide open book. A lot of people are saying that they are interested. Sherry, Roberta, Bubbles, Queen Elizabeth. Love it. Okay, here's the deal. Right now, I am live across multiple platforms. We have, I'm live on TikTok, which is my strongest platform. By the way, if you're not following me on TikTok, you should be following me on TikTok. Most of my content goes to there. But I'm also live right now on Twitter, where we have viewers, Facebook, where we have viewers, YouTube, where we have viewers, and Twitch, where we have viewers. So give me a follow on all of those social media platforms. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my TikTok platform as the example, but it really is the exact same across all of my platforms, okay? So let's see. I'm going to go right here to my TikTok homepage. Now, whether you're on Twitter or Facebook, you can follow me at The Real Jim BBQ. It's the same on every social media platform. You can also look for me as The Healthy Pitmaster. I'm on the same on every single platform. In each one of those platforms, you'll see my bio is I am a competitive barbecue cook who fought the Grim Reaper and won. This is my story. Underneath that, you will find a link. Okay, Linktree/The Healthy Pitmaster. I'm going to go ahead and copy the link address, and I'm going to paste that into the comments section here for everybody. If you wanted to take a screenshot at any point. Oh, dang it. That didn't do it. Bear with me here. Linktree. I'm going to go ahead and share that Linktree. I apologize. Bear with me. I'm looking for my link. I'm going to paste it in the comments section, and you guys can just take a screenshot whenever you want. Linktree. Got to get there real quick so that I can copy it. I apologize. Copy. Here we go. Coming back up. Paste. Pasted. Okay. There you go. You can do that. The other thing we can do is I'm going to put a QR code up at the top. There. You can scan that QR code, and that will get you there as well. Okay, so if you want to order, you can go to that link right there that's down on the bottom of this. You can go to the link that's in my bio on every social media platform. What you will find is that is the manufacturer's link. And if you are like me, which you may be, you might say, hey, I want to go over and get it off of Amazon. If you put it into Amazon, you'll find it's $250, $220. It is not an authorized sale. So with that being said, let me finish walking through this. Let's click that link. That's my Linktree. By the way, if you like the books that I recommend, I've got an educational books tab in there. Click that educational books. It's all of the books I recommend. The very first link is the Unicity Feel Great system. That is the system I'm talking about. You will see that is referred by my wife and I. That Amanda is my wife. You're using our referral code to get a lifetime discount to Unicity, the manufacturer. This is their website, guys. You're not giving me any money. You're giving Unicity the money. They are then fulfilling the order, okay? You're not giving me a penny. If you scroll down a little bit, you'll come across the products. The tea is called Unimate, and the fiber is called Balance. If you scroll down a little bit further and click Learn More, that'll take you to the ingredients. That'll take you to the nutritional information. In fact, let's go there. I just clicked that. That will take you over here, Unicity Balance. You will see the benefits, features, deal for the featured ingredients, and there are your supplemental facts, okay? So let's come back to here. If we just scroll down a little bit further, you can click this science link at the very bottom, and that will take you to unicityscience.org. If you hit research, that's where you can find all of those clinical validation studies that I was talking about, and I encourage you to go through and read these. Check them out. If you're trying to get healthy, read. Knowledge is power, okay? If you scroll down far enough, you'll come across the Cleveland Clinic, this one right here, fiber multivitamin combination therapy. If you hit see full study in the bottom right there, that's how you would read the entire thing. If you a little further, there's one of the two studies from the University of Sydney, Australia. Anyway, read those. At the top, you've got Science Team. If you click that link, it talks about us. What you'll find is this is a science-based company putting out a food-based product. Trust the science. They have 3 PhD level doctorates on staff, okay? But they've also got a scientific advisory board, and the director for their scientific advisory board is none other than Dr. Ben Bickman. World's leading metabolic scientist is the director of the scientific advisory board. And then finally, one other thing, let's go back to the PDR, that book that I talked about, this thing right here, okay? If you type Unicity into the PDR, you will get 19 different instances of Unicity in the PDR, including Balance and including Unimate. If you just follow those links, prescribing info, full prescribing info, the highlights. It's also known as BIOS Life. That's what Rexall Pharmacy released it as 35 years ago. But you will find that it doesn't have any drug interactions. There are no contraindications. This is food. Oftentimes people ask me, can I continue taking this with my medications? Absolutely. It's just food, right? It is in there. So if you want to run it by your doctor and have your doctor say, hey, you know, you can show them that. Okay. What questions? And Robert, Roberta, you are more than welcome. By the way, if you use that link in my bio and order it there, you would be getting me as a coach as well. I will be, and I say coach, I use that term loose. I'm pretty familiar with the product, and I've had wonderful success on the product. I've been fortunate enough to help quite a few people reverse some otherwise chronic conditions, and I love doing that. So if there's anybody that, if you like the information that's coming out of my mouth and you use those links to order the product, you would get me as a coach. Jemin asks a question. Let's see. If you already are eating 2 pills of metformin, how do I start with this? Great question. Just start taking it. What you will notice, Jemin, and I love it when people with continuous glucose monitors start taking this. If you're not on a CGM and you're using the finger prick test, are you doing it frequently? And you should be. The simple answer is you should be testing yourself regularly. If you're not, you're setting yourself up for failure there. But if you aren't and you're going to start this, start poking yourself regularly right now and start plotting some data. What you are going to notice is that number, that glucose number, your fasting number, your postprandial, that's the 2 hours after you eat, that number is going to start just plummeting. As it plummets, you're going to get to see, hey, man, there's something here, okay? So that's when you reach out to your doctor and say, hey, man, my glucose seems to be coming down pretty drastically. Can I lower the medications? Can I start lowering the amount of medications that I'm using? Let's see. Great question. Thank you very much. I wanted to show something else and I just forgot what it was. Okay. What other questions do we have, if any? And if you like the information that I'm providing, oh, I know what I was going to say was there are some things. If you struggle with $154 a month, you can use. I can't really say it, but how do I say this? There are services. They don't just accept credit cards. There's another service. When you go in and order, it'll ask you how you want to pay. There is another alternative payment source that you can do, and they may let you break it up into 2 payments per month to maybe soften the blow a little bit as far as $154 coming out of your bank account in one swoop. Another thing, Klarna, and I'm not really familiar with Klarna, but I understand that there are a lot of people who use Klarna, and Klarna will also do this. HCAs health HSAs, health savings accounts. Some of them will cover this, some won't. You just have to check with your HSA whether or not they will. Mine does not, but I've had a number of people who have used my link. Theirs do. So sucks for me, works for a lot of other people. Oh, did they? The new protocol and pricing just rolled out today. Thank you, Jimmy. $159 per month. Am I correct there, Jimmy? Is it $159? I guess I should go look. I believe it's $159. Yes, $159. I'm sorry, I misspoke. $159. Okay. Thanks, Jimmy. I appreciate you, brother. Okay, so it's $159. They just changed the protocol slightly today, and I'm ecstatic for that. I've been waiting for it. Okay. Okay. What questions? And I was going to go through and show some before and after pictures because people love before and after pictures. Guys, if you're into this for weight loss, I want to point out it is not a weight loss medication, but there are a lot of people who have lost a lot of weight. This is Todd, my buddy Todd Duck. I found him on TikTok. If you're on TikTok, you should give him a follow at @tduck_. Todd has lost 40 pounds. His A1C went from 6.9 to 5.1. Todd also reversed his sleep apnea. This is my good friend, my good friend, Michelle. You can follow her on TikTok at Michelle Radcliffe09. Michelle has lost 70 pounds overall, 40 pounds on this protocol, A1C from 7.1 to 5.2. I don't do carnivore or keto, as I've mentioned. Michelle is carnivore, and she uses this system and has great results. She's a perfect example of, if you want to be carnivore or keto, it will just accelerate the process. Michelle does that, and I love her, watching her. An image of yours truly that's not so flattering for me in either picture, but I think I look a little bit better in the second picture on the beach in Destin, Florida. This is a friend of mine, Mary. Mary found me on TikTok. She wanted to say, hey, Jim, just wanted to share that my rings are literally sliding off my fingers. I absolutely love that. John sent me this text. 6 months ago, my A1C was 7.1. Last week, it was 6.1. I've been doing the programs, I think, 6 weeks now. Imagine dropping your A1C like that in 6 weeks. Dustin found me on TikTok. Jim, I just got my lab test back after just taking the Unicity products, and my liver enzymes are normal. I don't know how many of you have some elevated liver enzymes, which were high 3 to 4 months ago, and my A1C was 5.7. Used to be 7.6, and I stopped taking that nasty metformin 5 months ago. He says he hadn't lost but 10 pounds, but now he's actually down like 60 some pounds. His waist went from 44. Now he's at a 34, I believe. And this when he sent me this text, it was after about a month and a half on the system. Let me see. Christina, I don't know if you're in here listening to me right now, Christina, but I love Christina follows as well still. She found me on TikTok. Just a heads up, I met with my primary care physician last week to go over labs. She is recommending I stop 3 of my diabetes medications and reduce my blood pressure medication. She wants me to confirm with my endocrinologist. Carries on, right? She literally got off her chair and came and gave me a hug. Tony here found me on TikTok. A1C, if you're not giving Tony a follow on TikTok, you should. @FireItUp on TikTok. Give Tony a follow. A1C went from 10.7 to 6.3 in 3 months. Pretty damn crazy. Also, I don't want to ever suggest anybody do this, but Tony, 6 months before he found me on TikTok, Tony was on metformin. He was on what a good friend of mine, Ro, calls your starter pack, right? Metformin and those. Tony was on those, and he hated metformin. It really upset his stomach, and he quit taking his metformin in like November, December of 2022. He found me in 23, like March of 23. He had been unmedicated for a number of months, and in March, his A1C was at 10.7. He was completely unmedicated. He did not want to go on the medications. I never recommend, but he quit them before he found me. He went from 10.7 to 6.3 in 3 months, completely unmedicated. I do think that's worthy of telling that part of the story. Always consult your physician, your doctor, talk to your medical provider. But Tony, in this instance, he'd already quit his medications, and he took it from 10.7 to 6.3. He was also down like 40-something pounds. Many of you know my mother, especially since I'm on Facebook right now. Many of you know my mother. My mother, A1C from 9.8 to 5.4. She's lost in total like 130 pounds on this system, about 45 pounds alone. My mother has reversed type 2 diabetes. She's no longer on medications there. My mother is no longer on cholesterol medications, and her cholesterol levels are wonderful. In fact, she was on 17 medications when she started Feel Great. She's down to, I believe, 6 or 7 right now. Her Hashimoto's TSH score, thyroid stimulating hormone, is at a 1.409, which is perfectly normal. Her TSI score, which is the marker for Graves' disease, is undetectable, suggesting she's in remission from Graves' disease. I love this story, and I don't know if Kevin is in my live stream or not, but Kevin came across my live stream. Justin, I want to answer questions here. Are none of the, oh, dang it. None of the pictures are coming up. I wish I would have seen that, brother. I'm showing all these pictures, and none of them are coming up. That's okay. We'll just keep on going with Kevin. Okay, Justin, some HSAs. Justin asks if HSAs will take it. Justin from Facebook. Some HSAs will, some won't. Mine will not, but a lot of people's will. So some people just try it, and if it goes through, it goes through. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Maybe you want to call your HSA first and see if they will. But it is in the PDR, the prescriber's digital reference, and that usually is a good guiding light for HSAs, right? So keep that in mind. Okay, so let me jump back over here. This is Kevin. And Kevin's a great story. I don't know if Kevin is listening to me or not, but Kevin came across one of my live streams, and I oftentimes ask the question, do you feel like you're winning or do you feel like you're losing on your current system? And Kevin, his response was, diabetes has devastated my family. And he really kind of stopped me dead in my tracks. I had to address him, and I stopped really talking to the entire audience in my live stream, and I just started addressing Kevin. And I said, Kevin, brother, give me 90 days. Give the system 90 days, and it'll change your life. And so he did. He gave it 90 days. And let me see. Oh, you can't really read that, but you can sort of. Let me just read it. He sent me this text. Hey, Jim, I will be going over to Memphis on the 3rd of August. By the way, he found me in like July-ish to get my blood work done and see what I've been able to do since I started cutting out sugar about a month ago. I was going to wait and share something with you at that time, but I just can't wait. LOL. The first picture is glucose readings taken 1 week before I started the protocol. The second picture is from 10 days after. So these pictures are 17 days apart. Look at the difference between those two sets of readings. That's 2 weeks apart. Absolutely amazing. And he would go on to tell me later on, he sent me this second picture, or the second text, of those readings that he got from Memphis. His cholesterol went from 212 to 138. His triglycerides from 352 to 150. His HDL from 30, it rose to 37. His LDL from 121 to 75. His A1C from 8.7 to 7. Test results are 3 months apart, and I've been on the Unicity Field Grade system for 1 month. That is 4 weeks. Absolutely absurd. I want to find, well, this is my girl Michelle. Michelle found me in August of last year. The picture on the left, she was about 388 pounds. The picture on the right was about 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago. So about 7 months on the system. She has lost over 80 pounds. Her measurements are down by 67 inches. She took measurements around her waist, her hips, her chest, her neck, 67 inches. She looks like a completely different person there. I want to get to, well, here's Tanya. I already kind of showed the picture of Tanya earlier, but this was at 3 months. Tanya is now at, I guess about 10 months, 11 months on the system. Tanya has reversed her type 2 diabetes. She's off her cholesterol medication. She's off her blood pressure medication. Her diuretics are cut in half. Tanya used to be on 24-hour-a-day oxygen therapy. She's now not. She takes oxygen at night only. Absolutely. I had Tanya on here earlier giving her testimonial in person. This is Celeste. Lost over 70 pounds. I think she's at 77 pounds now. Doesn't even look like the same woman. Lynette, who I believe is in the live stream. Lynette, I don't know if you're in the live stream or not. What takes away the dark skin and skin tags around the neck? Me to beat. It's exactly what I'm talking about right now. Lynette, hey, Jim, I have great news. Just saw my doctor today to review my labs. My A1C is now 5.9 from 7.0. Absolutely crazy. Let's see. What else have we got? David, hey, 3-month check-in with you. My previous A1C was 8.3, now 6.3. Body weight from 299. He mistyped it right there, but down to 269. I just called David and left him a voicemail yesterday. I wanted to follow up with him to get more recent labs. These are Tanya's actual labs. Triglycerides was 197, now 116. Cholesterol was 180, now 132. My guy James, James is in the United Kingdom. If you are listening to me overseas, we are available in 30 different countries. James is down 9 stone, 9 pounds, or 135 pounds. Super cool dude. I love James. I got to hang out with him in Tokyo. Super cool dude. Now, Ro, one of my favorite human beings. Ro came across my live stream, I guess, last year on TikTok. In March, Ro went and had her A1C pulled. Ro's A1C was greater than 14. Her doctors, the readings, the email that she got, and the paperwork that she got, A1C had a greater than sign and the number 14. It was greater than, she was in excess of 14. One of the highest A1Cs I've ever seen. Kevin, the guy I showed you his testimony a little while ago, said his was actually 20 a number of years back, 20. But Ro was in excess of 14, so Ro could have been a 14.1. She could have been a 23. And again, similar to Tony, I'm going to tell a story about Ro that I never recommend, but I'm going to tell it because I think it lays bearing to the story. Ro had, she had gone to see her doctor in March, and in March he said, well, you're over 14. You need insulin. You're going to be a lifelong insulin dependent. From now on, you're going to be on insulin because you're clearly not taking the medications I prescribed. And that little statement right there bothered her to her core because she was, in fact, taking her medications. She was absolutely taking her medications. And the way that it looks like my comments are not coming through. I'm sorry. Let's see. My chat is not connected to TikTok again. There we go. I just let them know. I apologize. My chat just became disconnected from TikTok again. Okay. Let's see. This is so easy. Let's see. What is going on here? Or did it not? Maybe it isn't. Can somebody type something in the comment section for me? I'm curious if my chat is still connected. Anyway, Ro had quit taking her medications at 37 days on the. Hey, Joanne, thank you. Okay, nope, we got connectivity. I apologize. Okay. Hi, Sally, over from the YouTube again. How are you? Okay. So Ro had quit taking her medications, and again, I don't ever recommend anybody do that at all. That's awful. But she did. She quit taking her medications. And in 37 days, she had her A1C pulled again, and it was 7.5, which is amazing. She had gone from in excess of 14 to 7.5 in 37 days. And more than that, at 90 days, her A1C was 5.9, which is it's pre-diabetic. That's the low end of pre-diabetic in 90 days. And just think about that. From in excess of 14 to 5.9, completely unmedicated in 90 days. And I'm never advocating anybody quit taking their medication. So let's see. Justin, I love the question, brother. Can Unicity be prescribed by a doctor, or is it only through self-medication? It can be. You're never going to get a doctor to prescribe it, brother. It's just not going to happen. There are a number of doctors who are promoting the product now. In fact, I'm really excited about this. I'm in communications with a number of doctors, and we're going to start doing an incredible live stream every Sunday. We're hashing out the exact time, but it's going to be every Sunday, and it's going to be either me hosting or one of my friends hosting kind of the live stream, and we'll be bringing in a doctor, and we're going to be talking about specific conditions and how this system applies to those. So I've got a medical doctor who's already signed on board. She's going to do this. We've got a neurosurgeon. And think about it. When we talk about brain activity or neuropathy or something like that, wouldn't it be awesome to talk to a neurosurgeon about how this benefits? Dr. Eric Aiken has already said he's going to join this. He loves the idea. We've got Shannon Davis, who is a 17-year registered dietitian. We start talking about obesity or this type of thing. Wouldn't it be nice to have a dietitian available in these types of meetings? So anyway, Shannon will be part of this. Dr. Tiffany Hendricks, who's a medical doctor, has mentioned she's interested. We're also reaching out to some other doctors, endocrinologists, pharmacists, and that sort of thing. So it'll start happening on Sundays. But if you're questioning some random dude on TikTok, know that in the coming weeks, and we're talking about launching this in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and what we're really going to do is focus on covering one specific topic per call. How do I get rid of the skin tags? I am her. How are you? Reverse your insulin resistance. Reverse your insulin resistance. And unfortunately, I am her. You're joining my live stream kind of towards the end of it. But fortunately for you, I am also simulcasting this live stream across 9 different platforms, of which Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter are some of them. And those platforms keep this live stream up. So you can find me at The Real Jim BBQ, the Healthy Pitmaster, and go and watch this existing live stream on one of those platforms. Or you can come back and watch me do a live stream tomorrow. I'll be live again as well tomorrow. So either one of those are perfect things to do. What is up, my brother Gary? Gary losing a ton of weight, reversing his insulin resistance on this system. If you're not giving RZ Teacher for Health a follow on TikTok, then you're not doing it right. Puts out amazing content. He is a teacher. I love hearing a teacher talk about this system. Okay, guys, what questions? Let me ask the question real quick. Is there anybody who wants to order the product but does not know how to? And if that is you, then type the word help in the comment section. And a little cheat code real quick. I have got a up in the upper upper left-hand corner, I guess it is. I've got a QR code. You can scan that. That will take you right to it. Or you could take this link at the bottom of the screen right now, Linktree / the Healthy Pitmaster. You could go there, and that will go there. Or on any of the platforms that I'm on right now live, you can go to the bio that I have in there. You go to my homepage on whichever platform you're on, and you'll see that same Linktree platform there. You can click it. It will take you to the web page. Okay, I am her. Yes, I will. Thank you for the information. I'll follow. Now have a great day. You have a wonderful day too. I am her. I like it when people are pleasant with me. Sometimes people are just jerks. What questions have we got, folks? Does anybody have any questions? I'm wide open. I love taking the questions. Anybody have any questions whatsoever? Brenda, FGS week 2, 4 insulin shots daily, blood sugar still spiking. How can I get off meds in a safe manner? Okay, Brenda, great question. I love that. You're on insulin, right? And are you working with your medical provider on your insulin usage? Sherry, you are welcome. Guys, I want to point out a 90-day money-back guarantee. You've got nothing to lose, right? There's absolutely nothing to lose. If at the end of 90 days there's no benefit, ask for a refund. They'll give you all your money back. It's kind of a no-brainer, right? But Brenda, back to you. First off, Brenda, whose link did you sign up under? Who is your coach? Who is the person that you signed up under? And I want to kind of illustrate this. I'm going to use this as a comment, as a teaching moment here for when you sign up with somebody. Natalie Zierenbeck? Is that Natalie Zierenbeck, or is that something like that? Is that who? And if so, I love her. She's a rock star. Have you gotten with Natalie on this? And the reason I ask, not that I'm not going to help you, I'm going to help you as best I can right now, but that's kind of the beauty of when you use somebody's link, they get to kind of know you. And I know that Natalie cares. She's a rock star. I've met her in person. She's an absolute rock star. We get to know the people that use our link. We build a bit of a relationship with them. So I would absolutely encourage you, if you have not built that relationship yet with her, build one. That's the beauty of this system, is you're working with somebody who's actually had good results. Now, to that point, you are taking insulin to regulate your glucose, right? And if you were, I'm going to say, doing it properly, right? You eat a meal, you kind of count the number of carbs that you had in that meal, and you inject the appropriate amount of insulin for that meal, correct? Something like that. Does that sound accurate, reasonably accurate, as opposed to blindly saying, I'm going to take 80 units at night? That's awful. Right? What if you don't need 80 units, right? But you take the appropriate amount of insulin. Now, what you will find on this, Brenda, is you'll start to see your glucose numbers drop. You'll start to see your glucose numbers drop after a meal. You'll start to see your glucose numbers drop in the morning when you wake up. as they drop, it makes sense to back off some of the insulin, right? You don't need as much insulin as you needed before. That is your body resensitizing to it. Now, this is the part where it kind of ties in with your coach, right? So I know when I start talking to somebody, one of the first things I do is, how long have you been on insulin? Have you been on it for 30 years? If you have been on it for 30 years, you might be in for a long ride here, okay? You're not going to get something right away. If you've been on it for a year or 2 years, something like that, this could be a relatively quick process. It really kind of goes person by person. So to that point, Brenda, I hope I've kind of answered. You're going to start to see that you don't need as much insulin as you did before. And as you start to reduce it, remember that hyperinsulinemia, that very thing that you're injecting yourself with, is what's causing the problem. So if you continue to inject yourself with the insulin, it's kind of counteracting the system, if that makes sense. And I'm not suggesting you just quit taking it, but as you start to see your glucose numbers drop, your postprandial numbers drop, well, it makes sense that you can start backing off some of the insulin. Now, I have a gentleman, Keith. I don't know if Keith is in here or not, but Keith was, he came across me in November. He'd been on insulin for 10, 12 years, something like that. And I think it took Keith 5 or 6 weeks really to wean himself off of, and I say wean himself off of the insulin. I have another gentleman, Mike. I don't know if Tracy's still in here, but Mike found me on TikTok. He had been on insulin for about 10 years, something like that, 8 years. And same thing, but he was really kind of off his in like 2 to 3 weeks. I think he used it one final time at like week 4, but he was kind of off it at about 3 weeks. Everybody's a little bit different, but knowing that, watch the amount of insulin that you need, you'll see that glucose number dropping. Now, as it continues to drop and you find yourself not needing the insulin anymore, that's when you start having a conversation about metformin, if you're on metformin or one of the other medications. Right, Brenda? It kind of is, but you don't want to just stop, right? Because you'll see those numbers skyrocket. Your body is so accustomed to that hyperinsulinemic state that you're in. Justin, this has been an amazing live, brother. You are a wealth of knowledge, and I have learned a ton. Justin, do you still have my phone number, brother? I have not changed it, so I don't know if do you still have my phone number, Justin? Let's see here. There's that. I'm going to put that link back up. What other questions? Brenda, I hope that answered your question, by the way. What other questions do we have, guys? Does anybody have any other questions? Linda, do you eat regular food? What's an example, lunch or dinner for you? I love the question, Linda. Love the question. So yes, I do eat. I love the. Do you eat regular foods? I talk too much. I understand that I talk too much, but that does bring up a memory. When I first was told that I could quit taking medications, I talked to my doctor, and she said, "Yeah, you don't need them anymore. You're done with medications," and that's what we're all kind of hoping to hear, right? And I went onto Facebook right away and said, I typed up a big thing. I'm done. I beat it. I don't have to have it anymore. And one of my diabetic friends, who may be listening to me right now, came in and said, "Does that mean you get to eat normal foods?" And truthfully, it kind of took the wind out of my sails a little bit. I was like, well, and it took me a while to come up with that answer. I'm not quick and witty like my daughter. She's quick and witty. She would have had the answer just like that, but it took me like a week to figure it out. But the answer really goes something like this. What are normal foods? What do you perceive as normal foods? Do you perceive a burger and fries as normal? Do you perceive pizza as normal? Do you perceive Pop-Tarts as normal, or bagels, or do you perceive, highly processed foods as normal? Fried chicken, is that normal foods? Is fried fish normal? Is mashed potatoes at every single meal, is that what you perceive as normal? Now, if that is your question, do I get to eat normal foods? Well, I could start eating those foods, and guess what? I would get sick again. Why would I get sick again? Because those aren't normal foods. In fact, those foods that we have put under the umbrella of being normal foods are actually horrible for us. They always have been, and they always will be. Had we have had the ability to fry catfish a million years ago, we would have gotten sick then too, but we didn't. Really, we didn't start doing this until the last 100 years, right? And around 1980, we changed what is normal. We went to 11 servings of carbohydrates per day, and you need to get rid of all the fats, right? Get rid of fats. In fact, in 1950s, some people might remember this. I wasn't alive in the 50s, but a lot of people that may be listening to me right now that were alive in the 50s, what did they say? Get rid of butter, eat margarine. Up until the 1950s, what was the normal food? Butter or margarine? And we said, hey, get rid of butter. All of that saturated fat is going to get you. Switch over to margarine that is chock full of trans fats. Now, our bodies can process saturated fat. They don't know what to do with trans fats. That just clogs arteries right away, right? And so all those people that switched over to margarine in the 50s, you look at the people that are now 70, 80 years old, and how many heart attacks have they had? Because they switched to normal food. Well, normal was in fact butter. And nowadays we hear cook in real butter, right? Grass-fed butter, not the cheap processed butter, grass-fed butter. I use Kerrygold. Get Kerrygold. It's a good grass-fed butter. Okay, so to that point, what do you perceive as being a normal food? If it is a burger and fries and a soda, no, I don't get to eat those. Do I eat them? Yes, I do. From time to time, I will have something like that, but I have it in moderation. And there's the big kicker, right? In moderation. I'll have pizza. I married a beautiful woman from New Jersey, and let me just tell you about Jersey people and their pizza. They are snobs. She is the biggest pizza snob on the planet, and she's turned me into a pizza snob as well. We love pizza. And so we have pizza. Is that a normal food? Absolutely not. In today's society, yes, it is, but it's not. Our bodies weren't built to run on pizza and Coke. So we do have that from time to time, but we practice moderation. And I think you've probably heard that word before, moderation. Now, I eat normal foods. To me, normal foods. Last night we had fish. Amanda made a cauliflower risotto. So basically take riced cauliflower, and she made a risotto out. It was absolutely delicious. I pan fried the fish in butter. It was off the chains. We had a salad with it. I got full. I have all sorts of energy. I feel like $1,000,000. That was a dinner. Yesterday for lunch, I had bacon and eggs. I think bacon and eggs is a normal food. Probably not as normal as cereal is today. I don't ever eat cereal anymore. I've completely cut cereal out of my meals. I never have cereal. I never have oatmeal. I've cut that out of my meals. Now, what is bacon and eggs? It is all protein, high fat, no carbs. In fact, I've noticed that when I have eggs, my glucose number actually goes down. But I want to talk real quick. This introduces something with the American Diabetes Association. Who was here listening to me when I was talking about? Let me go back. I'm getting a little bit carried away here. Helena says, you've really opened my eyes to giving the intermittent fasting a try. I just want to thank you. Helena, thank you. Thank you. Let's get healthy together, right? Thank you for somehow getting onto my feed. If you're not giving me a follow, give me a follow. And if you're on one of the other platforms, give me a follow there as well. Okay, so Linda says, LOL, I mean the foods you buy in the grocery store, not special order foods, right? Shop the outer aisles of the grocery store, not the center aisles. Macaroni and cheese is not healthy. That is not macaroni and cheese. As much as I want it to be a normal food, that's not a normal food. Okay, so let's see. New Jersey people, are pizza snobs, right, Renee? My late husband was a Jersey boy. What's up, Eric? How are you, brother? Okay, so let's talk about normal foods, and let's talk about managing diabetes. If we know that we don't want to spike our glucose, right? We don't want to spike our glucose. We spike our glucose, we spike our insulin, and hyperinsulinemia will lead to insulin resistance, which will lead to type 2 diabetes in time. It's only a matter of time, right? We know this now. We understand this. If you go to the American Diabetes Association, did you know that you can download their food guide? And check this out. We know, let me just come back here. We know if we go to Google and ask, what is the glycemic index of sweet potatoes? We now know that a baked sweet potato is a 94 on the glycemic index. A baked sweet potato is a 94. A 94 is going to spike your glucose high and fast. It's going to happen. Don't take my word for it. Listen to this paragraph from the Mayo Clinic. The low end of the scale has foods that have little effect on blood sugar. The high end of the scale has foods with a big effect on blood sugar. Okay. So anyway, let's come back to the healthline.com. Baked sweet potatoes have a glycemic index of 94. If you go over to the American Diabetes Association, you can download their food guide. And on there, I found this, and this is the American Diabetes Association, diabetesfoodhub.org, turkey stuffed sweet potatoes. Baked turkey stuffed sweet potatoes. Go down to the instructions. Preheat the oven to 400 degrees, bake for 60 minutes. What the hell, man? In fact, you can go and you can download their thing on desserts. Again, from the American Diabetes Association, you can download Marir Signando, and I'm sure I just butchered that pronunciation, but orange cream drink dessert thing, right? And look at that. Total carbohydrates, 17 grams. Total sugars, 16 grams. Now, if you are type 2 diabetic, what do you need a drink that has 16 carbs for? Marir Signando. Anybody know what that means in Spanish? Because I had to go to Google and ask Google what it means. To die dreaming. It's just an absolute slap in the face. To die dreaming. Oh, I didn't even show that. Dang it. Let me go back. I didn't even show that screen. Here. American Diabetes Association. Turkey chili stuffed sweet potatoes. Baked sweet potato. Right. From the American Diabetes Food Hub. Marir Signando orange cream. 17 carbohydrates. I need to share this screen. I'm doing it again. Total carbohydrates, 17 grams. Total sugar, 16 grams. And then finally, go over to Google, to die dreaming. It's like a slap in the face. And somebody might ask, hey, why the hell would the Diabetes Association, the American Diabetes Association, why would they tell us to eat something that might make it worse? It's probably not that hard of an answer. Sometimes the easiest answer is the right answer. I want to go here really, really quick. Let's go share this tab. This is my Twitter. And I go to Twitter because Twitter was where I got the actual post. Let's scroll down here. I try to post good information. Here we go. The American Diabetes Association. Ready for
at the ADA? Hello, everyone. I'm Stacy, the Director of Nutrition and Wellness at the ADA. We get asked a lot about where to start for meal planning for people diagnosed with prediabetes or diabetes. A simple start is using the diabetes plate method. Find a 9-inch plate. These are usually the smaller luncheon or salad plates in your dinnerware set. Fill half the plate with non-starchy vegetables like leafy greens, green beans, broccoli, and then 1/4 of the plate from lean protein, and the remaining quarter section of your quality carbohydrate choice, such as starchy vegetables, rice, pasta, bread. Drink calorie-free beverages for hydration. And as you get familiar with the amounts, it's easier to incorporate combination foods. But when in doubt, eat more non-starchy veggies. Check out the article linked below for more information.
Bread. Eat bread. Now, if you are type 2 diabetic, you probably know what bread does to your glucose. And I always like to point out, so look at how many views this thing has. 2.6 million views. I've had some viral videos. I've had a few videos that got to 700,000. I've never had a video get to 1 million. This video is at 2.6 million views. That means it is very popular. If you look just below the 2.6 million views, you'll see it's been liked 187 times. 187 times out of 2.6 million. I believe the kids refer to that as being ratioed, right? 2.6 million views, 187 likes. And you'll notice they shut off the comments. You can't read you cannot comment on this video anymore. Why do you suppose you can't comment? If you go over here to this little right-hand thing, there's a thing that shows the hidden comments. Click that. Check this out. The very first one from a registered dietitian, PhD, looks healthy. I'm going to follow this pasta and bread advice. Michael Fitzpatrick, what is the obsession with giving bread, pasta, and rice to people whose bodies can't process bread, pasta, and rice? And I mean, some of the comments just got mean. A lot of the comments just got mean. Oops. I'm going to do that. Diabetes is an intolerance of carbs, so why add high carb foods on that plate? Here's a doctor right here, a medical doctor, PhD. Here's my plate and my CGM. My goal was to get lots of protein and feel full. Do with this information what you will. I think that's pretty powerful. It's always kind of interesting to me. The reason I say this is it's kind of interesting. Why would the American Diabetes Association suggest you stuff your face full of carbohydrates? Why would they suggest you manage your type 2 diabetes? I've reversed my type 2 diabetes. I have reversed it. I don't have diabetes anymore. Would you rather reverse your diabetes or would you rather manage your diabetes? It's just an interesting little thing there, right? I want to say, I want to go here real quick. Let me see. Let's go share this tab. I had one a little while ago. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but on my Facebook, I post quite a bit of information too. And I had one I posted a while back from a doctor, and it was I think it was powerful. I don't know. I'll say I'll look for search. Let's go search. I've reversed. There we go. This one's from Ellie Giroux, who's a great follow, by the way. If you have type 2 diabetes, listen, this is a doctor, a medical doctor, and just a medical doctor. If you have type 2 diabetes, listen to people who have had type 2 diabetes and cured it with their diet. You're more likely to learn something valuable from them than 95% of clinicians. But whatever you do, do not listen to the American Diabetes Association. That's a doctor. That's a doctor. That's all I'm going to say. That's a doctor. I think that's powerful. So, would you rather manage your diabetes or reverse your diabetes? That's the question. How many people are still listening here? We're down to 20 people. I think we're getting towards the end of this live stream. I've been live for quite a while. Does anybody have any questions for me? I'm going to start wrapping it up. I think we're at, what are we at? I can't tell how many likes. Sherry, you have a question for me? Go ahead, Sherry. What question have you got? I'm here for you. I can't tell how many likes we have on TikTok. What's happening, Michael? How are you, buddy? We're at 16 shares on TikTok. Oh, okay. No question. Okay. What were you saying? What did I ask that had the me response? Is there, before I start wrapping it up, is there anybody that wants to buy the system but does not know how to buy the system? And if that is you, then type the word me. Oops. Type the word me, and I will direct you to how to purchase the system. 8,500 on TikTok. What would a high carb meal? Robert, I'm not understanding that. What would a high carb meal? Iceman, Jim, you see my question above. Sherry, let's see. I do not see your question. Iceman, I don't see your question, man. Now I've got some filtered words on TikTok. And you might be hitting one of those filtered words. I've got 14 words, and there may be a chance that you're hitting one of those, or maybe you're hitting a word that TikTok in general just doesn't like. I do have, and I can't see. Oh, you know what? Let me try this. No, I don't see it at all. What would a high carb meal be? Well, count your carbs. Count your carbs. So generally, I try to stay, and here's a number. And when I first started this, I thought it was impossible to hit. But generally, I stay under 50 carbs in a day. That is my rule of thumb. Just kind of generally, I'm under 50 carbs per day. Now, that being said, I go and have one slice of pizza, and I'm way over 50 carbs. So when I do treat myself, I don't count carbs. And truthfully, I don't really count carbs throughout the day anyway, because I don't eat a whole lot of them. But I would say that a high carb meal might, be something like 50 or 60 carbs to a meal. But I would generally just try and keep yourself down below 50, definitely below 100 carbs in a day. But it's really going to depend on how sick you are. If you've been type 2 diabetic for 40 years, you might want to be under 10 carbs in a day, because you're probably going to have a hard time reversing something. The good news is it is reversible, but you're going to have to work really hard. If you've been type 2 diabetic for a couple of years, it'll be an easier path. If you are not type 2 diabetic, but you have the signs of insulin resistance, it's real easy for you to fix before you get to the type 2 diabetes, okay? So with that in mind, that should be your guiding light for how many carbs you eat in a day. But I would always strongly avoid highly processed carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates, white bread, white pasta, pizza, that sort of thing. I would really strongly avoid those. White rice, mashed potatoes, I would really strongly avoid those. Treat them as a treat rather than a staple. Okay, Iceman. Tobacco use has effects on diabetes. Absolutely, it has effects. You're the Iceman on TikTok. Right on, buddy. Yes, Justin. You're the Iceman on TikTok. Right on, buddy. Yes, absolutely. In fact, brother, on TikTok, I did a video. It's been a long time ago, but I was researching for another video, and I came across some studies that said, hey, if you do this, you're more at risk for type 2 diabetes. And I basically checked off every single one of them. And one of them was smoking tobacco. I don't smoke tobacco anymore, but it absolutely puts you at an increased risk for insulin resistance. And more to that, Dr. Ben Bickman, he did a podcast where he talked about vaping. And vaping is awful for insulin resistance. So if you are a vapor and you think that it's better for you, think twice. It is awful. It will make you insulin resistant. It's bad. It's real bad. Listen to Dr. Ben Bickman. Don't listen to me. And of course, as a smoker, I never wanted to hear that, because I knew that it was bad for you. But man, it is really bad for you. Okay. Robert Herr. I had a hamburger with cheese and blueberries. Man, it sounds delicious, buddy. And you use lettuce as your buns. I dig it. And you start to get creative with other recipes and that sort of thing. Tanya, who was on here earlier, Tanya has a lot of recipes. If you're not giving Tanya a follow, you should be giving Tanya a follow. Sit back through the comments, find Tanya, give her a follow. But Tanya does a lot of recipes, like avocado bread. Here's a quick recipe for you. 1 egg, 1 avocado, 1 cup of Parmesan cheese. Mash that all together. It'll make like a dough. Split that into 2 and put it onto a cookie sheet with some parchment paper and smash it down to about a hamburger patty type size, right? Something like a hamburger patty, about the thickness of a hamburger patty. Smash that down. Bake that 350 degrees for 30 minutes. Take it out. That will be a bread substitute made out of avocados, egg, and Parmesan. 0 carbs. Well, carbs in the avocado, but good carbs. You're good with that. And that's a great little bread substitute and incredibly filling too. So what other questions do we have, guys? Starting to kind of wrap up the live stream. We've got a lot of likes, a lot of follows. I see we got some people on Twitter. Give me a follow on Twitter, guys. I need help with my Twitter. For some reason, I can't ever get any follows on Twitter. Facebook, thank you guys on Facebook. YouTube, give me a follow on YouTube as well. Twitch, if you're not giving me a follow on Twitch, give me a follow there as well. So what questions do we have, if any? I'm going to start wrapping it up now. I've been live for quite a while. I had some technical difficulties early. So really, this live has only been going for about 2 hours-ish. I had to deal with some technical issues earlier that were very frustrating. If you want to buy the product, but you don't know how to, type the word help. If you type the word help in the comment section, I will know exactly what you are doing. Justin, I didn't get your answer, buddy. I asked you earlier, do you still have my phone number? Do you still have my phone number, brother? Almost 4. Well, yeah, but it's been broken up. It's not been all one live stream. What could be the reason for dark circles under your eyes other than lack of sleep? Lack of sleep, Jess. Inflammation too. Deal with your inflammation. You probably see that go. Justin, send me a text, brother. Give me a call. But when I'm done with this, when I get off of here, Justin, send me a text. Give me a call, okay? I want to talk at you. Jess, I would, 5280. Just Jess at 5280. Are you in the Denver area, Jess? Don't mean to out you or anything. I am, as is Justin right there. We are in the, Robert, right on. Thanks, brother. Appreciate that, man. I need all the help I can get on those other platforms. In the event that TikTok should get taken away from us, I need all the help I can get on those. Robert just gave me a follow on the YouTube. You were in Thornton. Are you not in Colorado anymore? Do you know where Longmont's at, Jess? I am just near Longmont. Let's see. Jess, I guess, to answer your question, I know I'm kind of wrapping this up. I've been live for quite a while. I do a live stream every single day, not typically this long. I had some technical difficulties that were just bugging the snot out of me earlier. Oh, right on, Jess. Give me a follow, Jess. And I do live streams every single day on all of these platforms, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, every single day. I've done way more live streams on TikTok. I think I'm at like 600 live streams probably-ish I've done on TikTok. And we're growing in count with all the other social media platforms. So give me a follow on those. But give me a follow on those and inflammation. I would really look at inflammation and lack of sleep. Do you feel inflamed generally, Jess? So I used to have some heavy set bags under here that had some black rings. It could also be acanthosis nigricans. I don't know if it would be or not there, but that could be a symptom as well. So my live streams, I generally talk about that sort of thing. So give me a call, a follow. And Justin here, who is also Iceman in the comment section or something like that. Iceman, he's in Longmont with me as well. I don't know about dairy, just Jess, or thyroid. We'll talk tomorrow. How about that? Or send me a message. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up now, folks. Thanks for the likes, the comments, the follows, the shares, all that stuff. Give me a follow, and I'll do another live stream tomorrow. If you want to catch up on this live stream, see what this one's all about, you can certainly go back and rewatch it, and it'll give you all the information that I've been given here. Okay. You guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for everything. Oh, you already did. Okay. I will see you tomorrow then, Jess. Okay, guys. Have a